Mic check, mic check, mic check. Everybody come on in. I know this is what you've been waiting for. This is what y'all want to see. I've been watching the election all night. I decided that I was not going to stream for 6 to 7 hours straight and talk to myself about the election. I would rather just wait until the results come in, analyze the situation, and then let you guys know what I think, okay? Because I know you guys have been waiting. And I got to tell you, it's been a good night for Trump. I think there's a lot of left-wing commentators that need to find another job because I don't think that politics is for them, okay? And also on top of that, I got to say, I normally, again, I wouldn't toot my own horn like this, but I'm starting to believe that I am the best independent political commentator online, period, right? It's not even close, okay? It's not even close because basically, I mean, if this election turns out the way that I think it's going to turn out, that statistically speaking, it is likely to turn out with Trump winning, I will have been proven right about basically everything, right? Everything, okay? I'm talking about since Kamala Harris got in the race, okay? Since Kamala Harris got in the race. Now, again, I don't like toot my own horn. I don't like to brag. I do not like to, say things like this. But at some point, you got to just say, hey, you know what? I got to celebrate myself, right? And just say that I think I did a damn good job because I do this every single day. I live and breathe and sleep politics. And you have people that have been doing this stuff for decades and they're just wrong, right? Like I can think of so many people who were just wrong about how this election would turn out, even though, in my opinion, I thought that it was pretty obvious how things were going to turn out, okay? And, you got some people who were falling for the psyops from the mainstream liberal media. Like, for example, that Ann Stelter poll, right? Everybody saw that Trump won Iowa easily. I believe he won by like 8 to 11 points. When that poll came out, what did I tell you guys? I told you guys that poll was a psyop poll, right? That poll was a hopium poll, okay? What I have observed over the last 2 to 3 months is that the mainstream liberal media attempts to manufacture a reality that does not exist, okay? And that poll was obviously an attempt to do that because there was no reality in which Kamala Harris was going to win Iowa by 3 to 4 points. It wasn't going to happen. But if you listen to the mainstream liberal media, what they were saying was that old women are going to come out and they're going to vote for Kamala because of democracy and abortion. But that's what they wanted to happen, right? That's not actually what was happening. That's what they wanted to happen. And I am convinced that Ann Stelter, she was paid. She 100% was paid to put out that BS poll in order to inject hopium into the arms of the dying Kamala Harris campaign. There's no doubt in my mind. Zero doubt. This woman threw away her whole career to give Democrats hopium. Now, she's probably going to retire, and she's going to live a good life, right? I mean, there's no doubt. She probably got paid a cool million, right? A cool million, at least, to put out that BS poll, okay? The mainstream liberal media said, Puerto Ricans are going to come out and vote against Trump. Latinos going to vote against Trump because of a joke from a comedian, right? That's what they said. And then you have Florida. Trump dominated Florida. Dominated. The Latinos, Miami-Dade, all across the state, Puerto Ricans. They came out and voted for Trump. They voted for Trump. Look at what's currently happening right now in Pennsylvania, right? Where Trump, according to the New York Times, has a 75% chance of winning. Okay? If you guys aren't aware of the current state of the race, I'm pretty sure most of you guys are aware. Trump is essentially on the verge of winning, right? The poly market has Trump with a 97.2 chance of winning, okay? And clearly they are superior to the polls. They're superior to the mainstream liberal media. They have a much better grip on reality, right? And Trump is basically almost there, right? Let me see. Election results. Let's see. I want to get the map up. Yeah. So this is the current map, right? As you guys should be able to see. All Trump needs at this point is Georgia, which, I mean, basically has already been called. They just don't really want to call it yet because you have some votes coming in from the Atlanta area, but she's not really going to be able to catch up, okay? It's basically over in Georgia. PA, Michigan, Wisconsin, or Arizona. Now, in all of these states, Pennsylvania, again, according to New York Times, he has a 75% chance of winning. If he picks up Pennsylvania, it's basically over. Michigan, he has a 67% chance of winning. Wisconsin, he has a 75% chance of winning. Again, as the night continues, these odds just get better for Trump, right? In Trump's favor. Did we do Arizona? Yeah. Arizona, 80% chance of winning, right? So the likelihood that Kamala Harris wins all of these states, and then also you got Nevada as well too. But really, all he realistically needs is he needs one of these, preferably PA, one of the Rust Belt states, again, preferably Pennsylvania, Arizona, and that's it, right? I mean, that's basically what he needs at this point, okay? So there's a good chance that's going to happen. I really do not think that Kamala Harris is going to be able to sweep all of these states, which she would basically need to, the Rust Belt, okay? She would need to sweep the Rust Belt. I don't think she's going to be able to do it. Now, who knows? Maybe there could be some late night shenanigans. I don't know, okay? But I don't think that's going to happen this time around, right? Because I know there's a ton of black pill people in the comment section that have been in like every one of my videos talking about, oh, you got to wait for the late night ballots. I hear you, right? I hear you. And I'm not saying that it's not possible. I'm just saying that the margins right now for the Democrats, like, for example, in a state like Arizona, in Maricopa County, do not look good for that late night ballot drop, right? Because like I've been telling you guys leading up to this election, Democrats were not doing well when it comes to the early vote, okay, compared to 2020. So they really don't have the votes in the tank that they would need in order to pull off a 2020. They don't have it. Again, I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm just saying it's highly unlikely. Again, look at Maricopa County, where Trump is basically almost tied with Kamala at this point. 49-51, which is a vast improvement over how he did in 2020. Yeah, it's going to be super hard for Kamala Harris to win Arizona with these margins in Maricopa County. Also, on top of that, you have some of these other counties that are more red that haven't reported, or a lot of the votes haven't come in yet. So again, I just don't see the late night, ballot drop happening that is going to sway this election. I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm just saying that for all the black pillars, okay, for all the people that are saying that, hey, and again, I'm not saying it's over. I'm just saying that statistically speaking, it's very likely that Trump is going to win, okay? That's where we're at. Same thing in Michigan. She just does not have the margins in some of these key states, these key areas, okay? Like, for example, Wayne County, Detroit. The margins just aren't there, okay? Trump is just doing better across the board, specifically with minorities. That's the crazy part. I believe in Wisconsin, Trump is picking up 20% of the black vote. In Wisconsin, 20%. Which is insane to think about, right? All that boohoo whining, crying, Trump racist. Trump gonna put black people back in slavery. Trump hate blacks. Central Park 5. He discriminated against black people in his apartments. 20% of the black vote. You can't make this up. Historic numbers, despite the fear mongering. Anyways, right? I'm just saying. I just don't see how Kamala Harris can come back. I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm just saying there would have to be some serious funny business for Kamala Harris to come back, right? So my overall point is this, okay? And we're gonna get into some of the meltdowns here from the media. Okay, I'm gonna stream MSNBC, right? Because they're probably not doing well right now. Okay, but I want to make this point. The one thing that I have noticed is that these polls, and again, the media, they're not a reflection of reality. They're a reflection of what they want reality to be, not what reality is. Okay, these polls were a reflection of what they wanted the race to be, not what the race was. Again, I went over this in multiple videos with you guys. I told you that the Trump vote likely was underestimated. I just put out a video today. If you guys haven't watched it, I think it's a good time to watch it right now if you haven't seen it. About the French Trump whale that betted $40 million on this race because he said that the polls were rigged. Okay, they were rigged in favor of Kamala Harris, and they were underestimating Trump's support. And they were doing this on purpose. And lo and behold, I mean, it looks like that dude was right. It looks like that dude was right. He's probably going to win, what, 80 million? He probably gonna end up netting, what, $80 million? I don't know how much they win. I don't bet. I'm not a gambling man, so I don't know, right? I don't know how all that stuff works, okay? But what I'm saying is that the polls are a reflection of what they want reality to be. And I really do think that they all knew that Trump was ahead. And the reason why the polls were even close is because they wanted Kamala Harris to be in a better position than she actually was. And it makes sense. A lot of this stuff makes sense when you actually think about it, right? Nobody voted for Kamala Harris in the primary. Not in this primary, and not in the primary that she ran in 2019. So if she could not get the Democrat Party base of 2019 excited enough for her to get one vote, why in the world would anybody think that Kamala Harris could do that in 2024? After being the most unpopular vice president in this country since Dick Cheney. This is why the low voter turnout numbers for the Democrats, the early voting numbers, this is why I wasn't surprised. I was like, well, yeah, that makes sense. Who the hell is excited about Kamala Harris? She's already proven that she can't get anybody excited. So it just made sense. It just made sense. Lo and behold, look what's happening, right? So, again, for all the black pillars, one of the reasons why I think that this is going to hold, it's likely that this is going to hold, that we're not going to have a repeat of 2020, is because Democrats do not have enough votes in the tank, okay, in regards to mail-in ballots. The margins also are not good enough. They don't have margins that are good enough to actually make up for this, okay? Now, again, I could be wrong, but I don't think I'm wrong, okay? Just like I haven't been wrong for the last, 2 or 3 months? Probably for the last, at least since the midterms, okay? The last time I was wrong was the midterms, okay? So I'm just saying, right? I don't think I'm wrong about this. So I think that most people should be able to sleep easy at night knowing that, okay, when you wake up in the morning, likely you're probably going to have one of these states that are probably going to call it for Trump. But again, I don't know, right? I'm just saying this is currently where we're at, right? This is currently where we're at. The odds are they're just getting better for Trump, okay? So with that being said, let's watch a little bit of the mainstream liberal media. Let's see what MSNBC got to say about this, some of the cope, right? And go from there.
Have an NBC News call in the first one, Joy. North Carolina called for Donald Trump.
Yep. And so it was, it's a state that I think Democrats definitely were reaching for. There was a lot of work to try to turn out the college campuses, which were really thick and really packed, and try to turn out the suburbs. And I think there was a lot of hope because of just the insanity, can we say fairly, of the person who's running for governor in that state, and a thought that, defeating him would also carry Harris in. But in the end, if they didn't make their numbers and essentially exceed the numbers that Joe Biden had in the suburbs, and I think we have to be blunt about why. Black voters came through for Kamala Harris. White women voters did not. That is what it appears happened in that state.
Come on. This is copium from Joy Reid. Why do I say it's copium from Joy Reid? The reason why is because in Georgia, black men voted for Trump at almost, a 25% clip, I believe. Also, in Wisconsin, black voters voted for Trump at a 20% clip. So when you talk about, black voters, in North Carolina, I kept telling you guys, I said, voter turnout for black voters in North Carolina is not good. It's a disaster. Didn't I warn you guys about that days ago, right? Days ago. Now Joy Reid gets on television and she says the exact opposite of what I've been telling you guys. This is what I'm talking about. These people, they want to manufacture reality even when the data is right there in your face. The data is literally showing you, black people, they seem not to be rocking with the Democrats like that. They're either voting more for Trump or they're just not voting at all. And Joy Reid gets on television, it's the white women's fault. The white women didn't show up. Well, that could be true, but also the black people didn't show up either. Let's keep it all the way 100, okay? If you're gonna blame somebody, if you're gonna blame white women, which is fine, you can blame white women if this is a game they want to play, which I don't think this is a good game, right? I don't think it's gonna help to start trashing people for supporting Trump, right? Considering how that's what they've been doing for the last 4 years, and look how that has worked out for them, right? Hasn't worked out well. But again, they just double down on the insanity, right? They don't learn from their mistakes. But if you're gonna play that game, you also have to be honest about the fact that yes, black people did not show up for Kamala Harris, not the way that it was intended for them to show up, considering how Kamala Harris sold herself as a black woman. Think about how bad that is, right? They tried to sell black people a fake black woman, and black people rejected Kamala. Yo, I low-key think that Candace Owens had a huge effect on the black vote. No doubt in my mind. Again, it's a damn shame that it's only, 20 to 15% going for Trump, right? Which, again, is historic for a Republican. Okay? Also, Trump has some historic numbers with Latinos, too. But I'm just saying that I think Candace Owens and the whole Indian thing, I'm pretty sure that had a huge effect. There's no doubt in my mind. But let's be real about this, though. Let's be real, Joy Reid. Black people are not rocking with Kamala Harris like that. Not the way they should be rocking with her, considering how she sold herself as black. Not the way that black people were rocking with Obama. That's just the reality.
Is that if you can't flip enough white women, and we've talked about this on this set numerous times, is that you have a state where you've got a 6-week abortion or 12-week abortion. I think theirs might be 12 weeks. Yep. But it's a state where women lost their reproductive rights, where there was a very heavy push to get women to focus on not putting in place, re-electing, putting back into the White House the person who was responsible for taking those rights away and restoring them. But that message obviously was not enough to get enough white women to vote for Vice President Harris, a fellow woman. This will be the second opportunity that white women in this country have to change the way that they interact with the patriarchy. And, God bless Shannon Watts, who has tried to have that conversation. But if people aren't receptive to it, and if people vote more party line or more on race than on gender and on protecting their gender, there's really not much more that you can do but tell people what the risks are and leave it to them to do the right thing.
Again, this is so offensive to me, right? This type of commentary is so offensive because it's I heard them commentating on this earlier today, right? When I was watching, because I was flipping through the channels. They basically were saying, well, we don't understand how is it that you can have abortion on the ballot in states like Florida, but yet Trump wins in such a dominating way. Like, how does that work? How do you vote for Trump, who took away the right to abortion, right? But at the same time, you vote to, basically, I don't know, protect your right to abortion in the state, right? This is the conversation they was having. What they don't understand is that people aren't stupid. That's the way it's supposed to work, right? People aren't supposed to vote in a federal election based off abortion, which is a state issue. But again, these dummies who get paid millions of dollars to just be ignorant don't understand that concept. It's a very simple concept. Abortion is not a federal issue, right? It's a state's issue. So yes, it's possible to vote for Republicans at the federal level, but at the same time, to vote to protect abortion in your state. That is 100% possible. And that's what people did. And thank God that's what people did, in the sense that thank God they did not attach abortion to their vote at the federal level. Clearly, I don't support abortion, right? But I'm just saying that what these people were banking on was for voters to attach abortion to the federal election. But that's not what happened. What happened is that in states with abortion on the ballot, yes, people showed up to vote on that, but they realized that no, that doesn't have anything to do with the federal election. The federal election is different. I'm going to vote Trump, and I may even vote Republican as well, too. Republicans, I believe, have won the Senate. We still need to win the House, okay? But the Republicans have won the Senate. It looks like Trump is on the way to winning the White House, right? They realized that, yes, we can have a Republican federal government, and we can still have abortion in our state, right? We can still do that. That's the way it's supposed to work. That's the way that democracy is supposed to work. But according to these people, they can't figure that out. They can't figure out why white women didn't line up, why the Ann Seltzer scenario didn't happen. They can't figure out why women didn't come out and vote against Trump because of abortion, right? They may have voted for Trump, and then, they may have also voted in favor of, I don't know, protecting abortion or whatever in their state. But again, they didn't vote against Trump because of abortion. They can't figure that out. But again, it's simple because people aren't dumb. People understand that those two issues, the federal government and the state issue of abortion, is not connected. So again, it's funny to listen to these Ivy League educated individuals sound very ignorant when it comes to things that they've been covering for decades. It's just fascinating because I've only been covering this stuff for like 4 years, and I've done it every single day, okay, to the best of my ability. And I feel like I've gained a much better understanding of how things actually work than these individuals.
When it comes to North Carolina, they just went through the hurricane. We know that the state made tons of accommodations and people were able to get to the polls in an abbreviated form. But they also were victims to a huge amount of misinformation over the last 4 weeks. You cannot underestimate the impact that had. But to Joy's point, there's no surprises in this election. People knew exactly who they were voting for and what they were getting. So they get what they get.
I want to talk about Mark Robinson for a second, because I think it's sort of interesting. Mark Robinson is like running an experiment, which is like, what's the floor? What's the floor for someone who's a major party nominee in a swing state, in basically a closely done?
Remind people who he is.
Mark Robinson is the current lieutenant governor of North Carolina running for governor. He is the one who said he was called himself a Nazi at one point on the Nude Africa Forum, where he had a long set of exchanges in which he said basically every single offensive thing a person could do. He has a very, very long history of saying incredibly repellent, omnidirectionally offensive statements about just about every group imaginable. He is the opposite of what you call like diplomatic or like political. He's going to get his,
He lost.
He lost, right? So he lost by a lot. He got 40%. So like, to me, I look at that 40%, I think, where does everyone start in the structurally polarized America that we live in? And the answer is Mark Robinson at 40% North Carolina. Like that guy ran about a bad race. He was abandoned by the top of the ticket. He was abandoned by fellow Republicans.
Abandoned by his entire staff.
By the entire staff. He had just about the worst news cycles you've ever seen for any candidate. And in basically what has been a 50-50 state, more or less, so it's a good experiment, that is the floor, is 40. So the reason that matters is because there's
what they're going to do, they're going to say that the new line of attack against Trump is going to be, well, Trump is Mark Robinson, right? That's what they'll start saying. That's what they'll start saying, right? That's what they'll start saying. So, yeah, a whole lot of coke from MSNBC. Let's see. Let's fast forward here.
But that's a reminder that, with no insult to the people trading in the bond market every day, and the only thing I know about bonds is word is bond, which is an old saying. You know way more about how bonds actually work. But the people doing those trades, the so-called self-anointed masters of the universe, Elon Musk and his bro buddies and people in D.C., most of those people don't feel and couldn't pass a lie detector test claiming that inflation personally affected their family as a severe hardship. But it's a heck of a lot of Americans.
But by the way, the question about raising the minimum wage almost never loses, by the way. Whenever it's put on a ballot, on a state ballot, whether it's a red state or a blue state or a purple state, it is a winner every time. I'm surprised Democrats don't use it more. But think about the disconnect here. The same people who are working class voters who are saying, I want my wages increased, are also voting for the candidate, in some cases, who is bankrolled by Elon Musk, who said into a recording device that there would be pain and hardship, which he's not going to feel. He's a billionaire, but that they will feel. So you're saying that your minimum wage increase will not be enough to deal with the 20% tariff that will make everything that you buy in Walmart much more expensive. So there's a disconnect between people's perception that the actor from The Apprentice can make me better. Essentially, you're saying, I want to be under the sort of care, right, of a very rich person who I think will take care of me economically because he was on television. But literally, the policies that you're going to get. And this is what listen, you get the government you ask for. And if you're saying you want 20% tariffs and mass deportation that will make everything unaffordable, this is what will happen.
Wow. Again, cope, right? So now they're saying that there's a disconnect, right? The voters are disconnected from reality. When I think the only people that are disconnected from reality are the mainstream liberal media propagandists, to be quite honest with you. Let's go to CNN. Let's see the cope here.
So then you come out here and you come up, let's just move on up, right? Carbon County, look at this, Trump getting 73% of the vote. You know, he's improved. That's one of the places he's overperformed himself. And then you move up here, this is Lackawanna County, Scranton, Pennsylvania, Joe Biden's hometown. It's a tough, competitive blue-collar area, but 51 to 48 now, 54 to 45.
And if that movement of 4%,
right,
it can be the whole thing.
It's a couple thousand votes here. It's a couple of thousand votes there. I want to show you something
By the way,
else.
can I just point out
Erie has now flipped.
Erie, has always voted with the presidential victor in Pennsylvania and nationally, is now with Trump.
Has flipped, and let's see where the turnout is there. Again, it's one of the 25. They're at 95%. It's very close, but it's always very close. So you see Erie County, very close there. And I just want to come across the state, Northampton County. So you're on the, your Buffalo, New York border, and here's New Jersey here. You've got, 52 to 47 there. Not done yet, but the two multi-pivot counties, twice for Obama, then for Trump, then for Biden. At the moment, they're going back to Trump. I just want to show one more thing we haven't shown tonight. I just want to bring this up and bring this out. It's not here. It is here. No, it is here. Sorry. I will figure this out eventually. I promise you. I just have too many gizmos. Just want to come in here. Come on. And show you this. So let's go out nationally first. Everyone's been talking all night long about the headwinds. There'll be a lot of questions asked about this after the fact. This is not a good environment for any incumbent. Kamala Harris is the incumbent vice president. What this shows you is not votes. This shows you the darker the county, the more that county has been hit by inflation. Meaning, the darker the county, the more cost of living, energy prices, gas prices, housing prices in a lot of places have outpaced wage increases. Right? Try to find me. See the green?
Yeah, what does that mean? That's
the county where your wages have outpaced inflations. You can use a hand. You will fill one hand. In the more than 4,000 counties and townships in the United States, you use one hand to fill out the counties where wages have outpaced inflation.
So can I make two observations?
So I just want to come back into your comment.
Oh my goodness!
I want to come back into your comment. The darker the county, the more punishing, the more inflation has outpaced your wages, your cost of living. And just look. I mean, the fact that she's doing as well in the suburbs is a testament to the Democratic strength there. But you see in these other places, it's just that was the headwind. And that came up. I can tell you I was on the road for 15 months, and that came up from the first.
Yeah, I mean, it's the economy, stupid. I mean, it's really that simple, right? It's the economy. Who in the hell, why would you turn around and vote for 4 more years of a terrible economy when we know under Trump's 4 years that we had a great economy, right? I mean, it's really that simple, right? That's really what it comes down to, okay? The liberal media wanted to make it about, oh, Trump is Hitler. They want to make it about January 6th. It's so funny because early today, CNN released one of their BS exit polls in which they showed democracy being the number one issue for voters, right? And I just love how they always just assume that democracy being the top issue is just bad for Trump, right? When I would argue that since Kamala Harris was not elected in her own primary, right? I mean, she was installed, okay? I would argue that probably hurts Kamala Harris as well too, right? The whole democracy thing, right? Because there's nothing democratic about the Democratic Party. But anyways, that being at the top of that's the type of stuff where they think that moves voters. I don't think that moves voters. I think part of the reason why you're seeing the results that you're seeing is because the whole anti-Trump thing, the whole Trump derangement thing, it just didn't have the same effect this year that it had in 2020, right? I think in 2020 when Trump was actually in office and people did not have an alternative in regards to what life would be like without Trump, right? Especially at that time period during the pandemic. I think a lot of people thought that, hey, well, the cause of all our problems is Trump. Trump is the issue, right? They were blaming everything on Trump. Every pandemic death was Trump's fault. But now fast forward 4 years without Trump, people realize that that was a lie. Everything that they told us was an absolute lie about how everything was Trump's fault. Clearly that's not the case because things got worse under the Democrats. So I think that campaigning on Trump being a threat to democracy, January 6th, he's Hitler, poison of blood, Nazi, fascist, all of those things, which again, that's what Democrats campaigned on, especially in the last few weeks. It just didn't move the needle. Because I think that Trump derangement, the Trump deranged individuals in this country, they've already become Democrats. Like for example, Alyssa Fair Griffin. She announced on The View today that she voted for Kamala Harris. And it's like, well, that's not a surprise. Those type of individuals, again, they were already voting for Democrats. That was already baked in, right? And the people who didn't care about that, who cared about other things, more important things, those people already have become Trump voters, right? They have already switched over, okay? And I think that's the miscalculation that the Democrats made. The Democrats made the calculation thinking that, hey, we can continue to make the same tired old argument that we have been making for years about Trump being such a big threat, claiming that he's going to do things that he never did, saying that he's, the worst thing ever. And they thought that that was going to work. But Trump's not in office. And the economy, the most important issue, is bad. It's terrible. So I think that was a severe miscalculation from the Democrats. And the fact is that they should have acknowledged a long time ago that the economy was bad. And they should have been more honest about the mistakes that they made in regards to the lockdowns and the overspending that contributed to the bad economy. I think the fact that they never really took responsibility for the economy, they gaslit the American people, and then they wanted to make it seem like everything was Trump's fault, even though clearly it wasn't. I think that's part of the reason why they struggled to get the effect that they thought that they were going to get from pushing Trump derangement. Because quite honestly, it's just not as effective. He's not in office. You can't reasonably blame him for the current state of the country. You just can't.
First trip to the last trip, even for people voting for Harris, even for people gladly and proudly voting for Harris, we're saying it still sucks when I go to the grocery store.
Yeah, and that's also why, the right track, wrong track numbers are 75% wrong track, 25, but the election's not 75%, 25, because there are people who think it's wrong track, but they're still going to vote for the Democrat. Yet, This is difficult to fight against if you're the incumbent.
That's North Carolina. Especially you're trying to win back.
Look at all the dark colors in Arizona and Nevada.
Oh, it gets worse as you go west. That's what I was going to say. Then you're in Georgia. Look, this is the Atlanta suburbs, right? If she loses just a little tiny bit, right? And look down here. These are working class people, right? And then you're absolutely right. Then you come out here and you look at in Arizona. That's Maricopa County. That's the largest county. Up here is usually Democratic area.
He's winning Maricopa County.
He is at the, well, that's just the, let's see. Let's come up there. It's close. That one's close still at half and half as you bring that out. And then you come here. This to me, of all the visits, you want to talk a place that still has the COVID body bruise because unemployment hit 30%, twice the national average.
Tourism.
And then the cost of living. I mean, look at it right there where, again, the darker the county, the more, and out here it's housing more than anything. Housing in Vegas, a lot of people rent. There's not a lot of land to build new houses. So the rents go up. And once the COVID moratorium on rent increases went up, rents went up through the chutes. And a lot of the working class people out there complaining about that.
I wasn't done with Pennsylvania,
well, we'll go back.
But hold on, because Pamela. No, go to Pennsylvania because Pamela's. I'm gonna throw it to Pamela. She has some information on Georgia. If you could. There you go. Pamela, what do you got for us in Georgia?
This is important information in Georgia. I'm getting from Gabriel Sterling, the top election official there. The margin right now in Georgia is 118,000 votes, right? 100,000 votes are outstanding right now. This is what I'm being told from Gabriel Sterling. Now, he says the split will go marginally for Harris. So let's break down what we know about where some of that outstanding vote is. Chatham, 40,000 outstanding, I'm told. This is a county that went to Biden in 2020. Carroll, outstanding, 18,000. This is a county that went to Trump in 2020. And then you have the blue counties of DeKalb and Fulton. DeKalb has 3,000 outstanding ballots. Fulton has 2,000 outstanding ballots. Again, just to recap, tight margin, 118,000, 100,000 votes still out in Georgia. And Gabriel Sterling says it's the split coming from that will be marginally, his prediction is for Harris. But this is what the data coming in is showing right now. Back to you.
John.
Yeah, no, this is cope, right? This is 100% cope. She's not making that up, right? I mean, let's be real, okay? She just doesn't have enough votes, okay, on the margins. Okay, yeah, that split might be marginally better for Kamala in regards to the amount of votes outstanding, but it's not going to be enough to make up for the 100,000 or so that she's down, right? So again, if I actually really believe that Kamala Harris could come back in Georgia, right, I would tell you that, but she can't, right? It's not going to happen, right? They just don't really want to call it because they don't, just in case like some miracle scenario happens. But I would go to sleep at night being very comfortable with Georgia, right? Maybe not so much Michigan, okay, and some of these other states, but he just needs to pick up one, right? I mean, that's just what it comes down to at this point. Assuming that he has Georgia, he just needs to pick up one, right? So they're going to say this, but I'm telling you guys that Kamala just doesn't have enough. She doesn't have enough votes out there to make up for her gap. But again, if she does, again, I had a whole lot of questions, but I don't think she's going to make up for it.
Do you have any questions for Pamela?
You say the total outstanding votes is 100,000?
He said 100,000 votes out. Yep.
Well,
and so I just gave you a little snapshot of where some of those places are. Chatham, Carroll, I asked, when are we going to find out these results from these counties? He did not have a timeline exactly for that, but hopefully soon.
But the significance, obviously, that Donald Trump right now has a margin of 118,838 votes, and you're saying there's 100,000 left.
If he's being literal, sometimes 100,000, they're getting calls from counties and they say 20,000, it's really 22.
Right.
They say 30,000, it could be 33.
John,
but if he's
can I just jump in?
Yes, please.
Actually, we asked about how do you know these numbers, and actually by law, they have to have it, the actual numbers. So I understand your point, but I think they do have more precise numbers based on what the law requires.
Interesting.
Well, then that math sends a shockwave through the Harris campaign.
Yeah.
If that is literal, just even if she won them all, if there's 100,000 left,
right,
and she won them all, and she won't, he's 118,000
right.
votes
She said
ahead.
marginally for Harris, which means probably like 53-47 or something along those lines. Interesting. Well, we'll have the decision desk talk to the people in Georgia. Can I go back to Pennsylvania just for 1 second?
Yeah, like I just told you guys, she can't come back, right? Yeah, this is just straight cope, right? Notice how I told you guys, she like mathematically she can't really come back, and then they turn around and they basically explain exactly what I just told you, which is that mathematically she can't come back, right? I'm just giving it to you straight. These people don't like giving it to you straight. They like to give it to you with chaser and all types of other. No, I'm giving it to you straight. She can't come back in Georgia, right? They're just holding out because I don't know, right? Again, you just never know. Okay, some funny business could happen. I don't know, right? Maybe some 3 a.m. ballot drops. I'm not sure. I'm just saying that the math ain't mathing for Kamala Harris in Georgia right now. They might as well call it. But again, I think they're just holding out for some type of miracle. Again, I'm not entirely sure, but that's something to keep an eye on. So, I mean, that's just what it is.
For a second, because it was so important. It's so important for every Democrat to drive up the margins here. Harris is with 78% reporting. Harris is at 78.1% to Donald Trump's 20%. We've already talked about this. This is a better performance by Donald Trump than in 2020 and also in 2016.
So watch where he is, right? You could look at it either way. He was at 18%. Now he's above 20%. If we go all the way back in time, 21 the state, he was at 15%. The third-party candidates mattered a little bit there, more statewide than they did in Philadelphia, but a little bit. So you just track Donald Trump in Philadelphia, right? Philadelphia, 15% and 108,000 votes in 2016. 18%, 132,000 votes in 2020. We're not quite done in 2024, but it's a lower vote count.
It's the margins.
Because we're not at 100 yet. This down.
Yeah.
If he keeps that number, he's got that's going to pass the last one. Absolutely. The margins. Again, she's at 78%, and there are some places that are swing counties, and you're fighting to move them. When you're starting a plan to run for president, and you know how deep Trump's support is across Pennsylvania, you have to do it here. You just have. It's math. It's math. I mean, 30% of the state population lives right here.
Yep.
Right here. So if you're going to offset that, you just got to run it up. You just got to run it up here. And she's at 78%. He was at 81%. This will be the conversation. If this plays out the way it's going right now, this will be the conversation in the Democratic Party, is what's happening in urban America, both in terms of the numbers, the turnout, the math, and the percentages.
So
basically what they're saying, again, and this is why I tell you guys that, this is why I'm kind of comfortable with where we're at. What they're saying is that based off 2020, the margins in which Joe Biden won were better than the margins that Kamala Harris currently has. So if those margins hold throughout the rest of the ballots coming in, then it's really hard to see Kamala Harris winning, right? And this is why Pennsylvania is leaning red, right? That's why a lot of these states are leaning red, is because Kamala is not doing well enough on the margin. So let's actually let's flip to Fox News. I'm flipping through all of them, right? I just want to get a general idea of what all the platforms are saying.
But even black voters, where that might be. And interestingly, Carl, normally you see a race where in the country where the cultural issues impact, as you were talking about, the suburban areas, in some places he wasn't performing. And you see the suburban areas in Pennsylvania and elsewhere where the economic issues, fracking, and the livelihoods of those communities were at stake. Then you have the cultural issues. I think the issue around transgender rights was a bigger issue than Democrats really understand what it meant. I mean, what it meant for girls playing sports. I'm a father of a son and a daughter, what it means if little boys are playing in little girls' sports and going into bathrooms. I don't think we've not gotten our head fully around that issue. So it'll be a lot of reckoning, and to Jessica's point, and I think a lot of reimagining whom we are as a party, which I think will be good for the party if indeed the trend continues where it is this evening.
I'm not going to belabor this point, but for a candidate who Democrats who really were aggressive and a media that echoed that, called him racist and a Nazi, and yet today to see the black vote and the Hispanic vote going exponentially more than it did before is really quite something. I mean, it's just startling, Britt.
Well, it's just further sign of the decline of the influence of the mainstream media. which tends to take its cues, to say the very least, from the Democrats, and to repeat with serious faces the charges he made and the sometimes outlandish claims that it has made about Donald Trump.
Yeah, and identity politics as well too, right? I think that when you have the type of movement towards Trump from minority voters, that says a lot about identity politics and how it's just not as effective, especially, again, when you have a terrible economy, when your politics are bad. Yeah, you can't run on identity politics. And Democrats tried to run on identity politics. I mean, Kamala's whole campaign was identity politics. And I told you guys 2 months ago when she got into the race, I was like, this is a referendum on identity politics. Lo and behold, boom. I mean, what did this election become about? Identity politics. And Kamala Harris losing is a rejection of identity politics. And it's just crazy because it's embarrassing for her, really. She ran as a black woman and she lost the black vote, right? That's the crazy part. She ran as a black woman and couldn't even get the black vote, at least not to the extent that Joe Biden did, right? Joe Biden did better than she did. Hillary did better. Obama did better. That was supposed to be her strength. But some black people, not enough black people, in my opinion, for my own personal taste, but enough to affect the outcome of the election, saw through it. They saw through the fakeness that this woman ain't really black.
Stay here, and we're going to go to Bill Hemmer because you're looking at Pennsylvania, Bill. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, sorry, they were talking to me. Go ahead. What's that?
How come I always talk to you when they're talking to you?
Well, because there's a lot to be said over here
All
in
right.
this
So
figure. Go
Pennsylvania,
ahead.
we're still looking at, but
Yeah.
we're also looking at the national popular vote,
Yeah.
which he's currently leading.
Yeah. One thing I was looking at here. Okay, this is Philadelphia. This is 2016. This is Trump's margin in Philadelphia, 15.5. Okay. Then he comes back 4 years later, Philadelphia. That's where I mean, it's a Republican running in a blue part of the state. He's just shy of 18. Okay, so where is he tonight? He's almost at 21. Okay, so hold on that moment here. Okay. There's a reason for this.
Wow, that was a nice move.
Yeah, like that? You caught me off guard. So let's go ahead and look at the vote difference for Pennsylvania. Some things I want to show you right now. You know, we talked about this Democratic march over here, and really, when we talk about the blue wall, here's where we stand right now, okay? Got to reach higher than that. Trump's just shy of 3 percentage points, now ticking down to 2.7. That's a live number that continues to come in. Go ahead and clear this. Kevin, widen out there a minute. Let's look at the vote margin for Pennsylvania. I'm going to show you the blue wall and how, you know, if it's moved every direction for the past 3 decades, is it about to move in the same direction yet again? Right? There's 3 counties here in Philadelphia that really tell a story. These are your flipper counties, all right? Look at Northampton. All right? Northampton is above Philadelphia. Trump's leading in Northampton. That flip for Biden, it's flipped back to Trump by about 5 points. Look at the other end of the state in Erie. Erie is one of these bellwethers as well. Kamala Harris has been leading there most of the night, and just about 30 minutes ago, Erie flipped. In Centre County, right smack dab in the middle of that T that you normally get in Pennsylvania, Centre County has always been the exception. It's been blue. That's where Penn State University is located, et cetera. Right? That is another indication about how well Trump has done in Pennsylvania thus far tonight. There's a real good chance he flips all those and maybe more shortly. So I want to show you that. We'll go ahead and clear it and give it back to you guys, okay?
Well, it's really interesting. We've got some action because we're hearing the former president is going to his party in West Palm, but we're also seeing Cedric Richmond in Harris Walz's campaign co-chair speaking at the Harris Watch party. Let's listen.
Votes to count. We still have states that have not been called yet. We will continue overnight to fight to make sure that every vote is counted, that every voice has spoken, So you won't hear from the vice president tonight, but you will hear from her tomorrow. She will be back here tomorrow to address not only the HU family, not only to address her supporters, but to address the nation. So thank you. We believe in you. May God bless you. May God keep you. And go HU and go Harris. Thank you all.
Cedric Richmond.
What do y'all think is the over-under of Kamala Harris conceding tomorrow, right? You think she's going to concede? You think she's going to say it was stolen, right? Are Democrats going to peacefully transfer power? You know how funny it's going to be to see Kamala Harris certify an election that she lost, right, for President Trump? That's going to be hilarious, okay? January 6th, 2025 is going to be a hell of a day, right? It really is.
In Michigan, in Pennsylvania, in Arizona, in Nevada. So, as you start getting to a decision here, and we could be getting close to a decision, we'll see where we are in Georgia. There have been other calls for Georgia. We are now in Michigan. Bill Hemmer, seeing some movement.
Up over 6 points, 6.3 now. The margin's getting larger for Trump here. Raw vote count is 210,000. So if you start doing some math and you think like what's outstanding in Detroit, Wayne County, which is a lot, it's a sizable amount of votes out there. But whether or not there's enough votes in Wayne,
but the margin's
once they
good.
announce and release, whether or not it's enough to overcome his lead right now.
What about Kent County? He has closed 3 campaigns in Grand Rapids, and he just closed this one there last night.
Kent County has been stubborn for Donald Trump. I think he would probably confess that. This was a flipper from 2020 when Joe Biden took it from the Trump team. Right now in Kent County, she's got a pretty comfortable lead here, about 10 points. It's a remarkable thing when you think about it. The Gerald Ford Museum is there. And we talked about 5 hours ago about the realignment of America in the South, primarily in North Carolina and Georgia and perhaps parts of Florida. You don't think about a realignment in Michigan necessarily. But this has been an area that Donald Trump wanted to win. There's a reason why he started his tradition in 2016 by concluding his campaign in Kent County, Grand Rapids. He did it again in 2020 in a losing effort. He did it again just this past weekend, Monday night at midnight, right? He rolled into, he rolled into Florida at 5:30 in the morning. That was yesterday morning. No, it wasn't. It was this morning, wasn't it? Right, because it was Wednesday, right? Okay, you follow me on the calendar? Okay, okay. But it's been stubborn. It appears that it will stick that way as well. Kent County and Grand Rapids will stay in the blue column. It's a changing area, this west coast of Michigan. But what I'm seeing right now, even though you'll have just about 60% of the vote in, I'm seeing a lot of red lining up and down Lake Michigan. And for a while, that had changed. It seemed to be shifting a little bit. There's a county right here called Muskegon, beautiful part of the world. And that had seemed to be drifting in the Democratic column as well. But Trump's got a firm grip on it now, 16 points. And I'll just go south of Muskegon, west of Grand Rapids is Ottawa County.
It's definitely not looking good for Kamala in any of these states, to be honest with you. Whether it be Michigan, Wisconsin. If you just look, the odds are just, again, for Trump to lose all of these states, including Arizona, would be an absolute miracle for Kamala Harris at this point. It would be an absolute miracle. Let's see. Has anything come in from Nevada yet? No. Okay. Well, at this point, Nevada is not even that relevant. Poly Market got Trump at 97%. Let's flip to, I want to see what News Nation talking about. I want their take. I want everybody's take.
Who is incredibly supportive of Benjamin Netanyahu in a way that Biden was not, even his amazing support.
Democrats are going to have to do a lot of soul searching. If the arc continues, there's going to be a reckoning of was all of the progressive orthodoxy worth it, and holding that out in order to get Donald Trump elected star. Well, I just want to go through some of Pennsylvania, because if the Pennsylvania is the Keystone State, the Keystone Commonwealth, Pennsylvania goes to Donald Trump wins the presidency. Take us through, if you would, some of the counties where we should need to be looking, what has to happen for it to be called, what has to happen for Kamala Harris to pull through.
Well, it's super easy. It's a lazy man's time for call now. 2 counties, Philadelphia County, Allegheny County. There's still a little vote out in the collar counties in the suburbs. There's a little bit out there, but this is just about the cities, right? This is now about, and we told you about this 6 hours ago, about how this goes. The last places that you get the vote are the places with the most votes in them, the densest place where it takes the longest to count, takes the longest to vote, takes the longest to count. It's more complicated in urban centers. So this is it's a pretty simple bit of arithmetic here. As soon as there are not enough votes out, because one of the other advantages that they have is that now we have a sense of what the turnout's really like, what the numbers really are all about, and what they can expect is still out in Philadelphia. And we'll certainly know a lot more here in just a few moments, that we can start to know what the real vote need is in those 2 counties.
Okay, and what do we make? I thought it was interesting when you put up Philadelphia County that Trump is tracking a couple of points ahead of where he was in 2020, Pennsylvania County, in Philadelphia County, and then also in Allegheny County. Donald Trump's doing better, relatively speaking, than he was. Allegheny, not so much, but I think Philadelphia he was by 2 or 3 points. How can we go through at least where he is in terms of his lead, and then how much vote we think is out?
Well, I mean, if the story of this election is that it's a 2-point shift, right, then it would be a 2-point shift everywhere. Now, we can highlight individual places. You mentioned New Jersey and other spots like that where you see these bigger numbers, but those are going to be in not contested. Those are going to tend to be in not contested places, in places that are monoparty spots where you can have those bigger swings in turnout and people act in different ways. I would imagine that you're going to see the consistent shift across a battleground state like Pennsylvania. And if that's the case, if those are the numbers that we're talking about, if that's what we're seeing here, the clock is really running down on Kamala Harris at this point. The clock is really, really running down on her.
Yeah. And is that, if we go Michigan and Wisconsin, the same story?
Well, I mean, Wisconsin has been different. So if Kamala Harris loses Michigan, if she loses Wisconsin, if she replicates Hillary Clinton's map, basically, then what Democrats will say is that they have to retool their party. They have to retool their coalition, because what it will say is that they could win in the middle of a pandemic, they could win in the middle of a recession, they could win in a crisis, and they could win with a sitting president who is super unpopular. This is what people forget. Americans have good views, better views now. Majority of Americans have positive views about the Trump administration because they're thinking about the Biden administration. But if the only way that Democrats can win a relatively narrow victory is to have a massive pandemic and huge recession, if that's the only way that it can happen.
And some other things as well, too.
And the question for Democrats will be, how do they figure out how to put this new coalition together? If they're not going to bring back the working class, can they rebuild the Republican coalition? And do Democrats go moderate and suburban, or do they try to go back to their roots? If the results are pointing to what it looks like they're pointing to right now, the coming civil war in the Democratic Party, the coming struggle between progressives who are going to come out and say, I told you Kamala Harris should not have moderated on fracking, should not have moderated on Israel, should not have moderated on all of these things. They're going to come out and they're going to say, we told you that the future belonged to the Democratic Socialists, it belonged to the hardline progressives. That's where we should have been. And then on the other side, you'll get the moderates will come out and say, no, we were carrying too much baggage from wackadoodles at the beginning of this term and didn't get to make the right
Chris,
case to the people.
What
yes,
is
sir.
the chance that the far left of the Democratic Party comes away with a win on this. They are absolutely the reason that this is happening right now. There's no.
Well, here's the thing. Right? The Democrat Party, I think that part of the reason why this is happening is because of the Democrat Party embracing the excesses of the far left, right? When it comes to the gender agenda, when it comes to spending, when it comes to the pandemic lockdowns, all of it, like the weird things that they're into, right? Now, here's the thing, though. Kamala Harris tried to run a campaign in which she tried to run to the middle. However, she was not very convincing of her moderate disguise, right? Because that's what it was. People were not convinced. They didn't know who she was, to be honest with you. Nobody knows who she is, okay? She doesn't know who she is, okay? So it's interesting. And this is something that I'm going to be covering, right? I mean, people ask me as a joke, well, what are you going to do for the next 4 years? Well, I'm going to continue to do what I've been doing, right? I'm going to continue to cover politics. And what did Democrats do the last 4 years with Joe Biden in office? Well, they covered what was happening in the Republican Party, right? And, hey, it wasn't necessarily a good 4 years for Democrats, so that's about the only thing they could cover. But anyways, I'm going to cover what's going to happen in the Democrat Party because there will be a Democrat Party civil war. They're going to be pointing fingers at each other and blaming each other, saying, well, whose fault is this? And the progressives are going to say, no, it's not our fault because we should have been more progressive. You should have doubled down on the open borders. You should have doubled down on the gender agenda. You should have doubled down on being soft on crime. You should have doubled down on the progressive policies, right, that they feel like are popular in this country. That's what they're going to say. And you will have other Democrats that'll say, no, we actually need to be more like Liz Cheney, right? Kamala Harris really thought it was a good idea to run around with Liz Cheney. Okay, again, that's the genius of the Kamala Harris campaign. Let me run around with Liz Cheney. And that's a good idea. One of the most unpopular politicians in the country, right? Two unpopular politicians, Kamala Harris and Liz Cheney, running around together. That's what her campaign was, okay? And keep in mind, the pundits, the people on, The View, Joy Reid, Kamala ran the perfect campaign, right? She made no mistakes. Clearly the mistake, again, was running around with Liz Cheney. But anyways, that's what's going to happen. And certainly that's going to be a problem. That's going to be a huge problem for the Democrat Party. And they're going to go through the same thing that the GOP went through. After Biden lost, the GOP tried to get rid of Trump. There was a GOP civil war. Trump won. Simple, right? Now, who will win the Democrat Party civil war? I don't know. But I'm low-key hoping for entertainment purposes, right? For content purposes, I'm hoping it's the left. I really am. I hope that the Democrats double and triple down on the cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs insanity. We know they're going to double and triple down on the Trump derangement. And there's no doubt in my mind they're probably going to try to impeach Trump, right? They're going to try to get him out of office, right? That's what they'll be focused on more than anything. But again, they do have a question. There is a real question about the identity of the party and the direction of the party. Are they going to embrace the far left, or are they going to actually become a more sane party again? I don't know. Because I don't think that the Democrats can thread that needle. I do not think they can court the far left and the sane people in this country at the same time. I just don't think it's possible. Like, the far left is the furthest left that they've ever been, right? And if Democrats really want those voters, keep in mind, one of the reasons why they lost this election is because a lot of those people didn't turn out. They didn't show up, right? There was the early vote for Democrats was terrible. So I don't know if they can thread that needle, right? I just don't think there's a real coalition there. And that's going to be a big problem for Democrats. They are going to have to retool. How they're going to do it is going to be interesting, because if you don't agree with the far left 99%, then they think that you're far right, right? So again, that's the problem, okay? That's the problem. So I don't know how they can fix this problem. I just think that it's hilarious, because They got themselves into this situation by embracing the insanity in the first place. Had they not embraced the insanity, they probably would have had a broader coalition of, I guess, never Trump Republicans, right? And sane Democrats, right? And that would have been their coalition. And that's the coalition they tried to build with Kamala Harris at the end, right? At the end. That's what they tried to do. Clearly that didn't work. Maybe they try to do that moving forward. I don't know. Okay. But I just don't see how they can thread that needle. I just don't think they can do it. But we'll see. But that is a very interesting point that this guy brought up, is how is the Democrat Party going to rebuild themselves moving forward here into the future? That's a great question. I hope they embrace the far left. I really do. Because if they embrace the far left, it's guaranteed that after Trump, because again, in 2023, 2024, we're having both parties. Both parties are going to have a primary. I mean, I don't know. Maybe Democrats will, maybe they won't. I mean, who knows, right, with the way they conduct their operations. But I'm just saying, we're going to have a full-blown general election, okay? 2027, 2028, okay? My bad. 2027, 2028 is going to be primaries, Democrats and Republicans, and both parties will be trying to win the White House, right? Trump will be done. There'll be a new candidate for Republicans. There'll be a new candidate for Democrats. And, yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be extremely interesting, again, especially in 2027, 2028. So, yeah, I mean, that's what the Democrats have to look forward to.
No question about that. I still understand that party and who's running it well enough to know that the idea that they're going to say, oh, we should have gone more all in terms of progressive or woke or whatever you want to call it, I think there's zero chance that happens.
Isn't the whole Trump candidacy a repudiation of the progressive woke?
That was found more unpalatable.
If she is winning this, she can afford to lose something else along the way. But because this is why we've talked about this for weeks, and that's why both campaigns spent more money in Pennsylvania than any other state, Commonwealth by far. The 19 electoral votes, 19 versus 16, 19 versus 11, 19 versus 10. It just affects your path to 270 math in such a profound way. So as you look at where we are now and you come back out into the latest vote count right there, Pennsylvania is paramount. That does not mean the other ones don't matter. Just winning Pennsylvania wouldn't be enough to get her there either. I'm just saying she can't win without Pennsylvania. Donald Trump can. Donald Trump can, but she cannot win without Pennsylvania. And so if you look here right now, where are you? That's 219,342 votes with 93% of the vote in. This is why when you heard Cedric Richmond at the Harris event said we would not hear from the vice president tonight and that she wants every vote counted. You did not hear him say, we see a viable path to victory. He did not speak those words. That doesn't mean it's not mathematical. The states have not been called. But he did not say we see a viable path to victory. He said we want all the votes to be counted. And so you look here at 51%. Again, one of the big questions was, could Donald Trump get over 50?
Wow.
In most of these battleground states in 2016 and 2020.
Look at these Nevada numbers, guys. Look at these Nevada numbers. Trump has 50.9% of the vote. Kamala Harris has 47.5%. But look at Clark County. Look at Las Vegas. Look at Las Vegas. I'm trying to show you. Trump is only down by 2 points. He has 48%. Kamala has 50%. So if that holds up, those margins are like razor thin. And also Trump is winning Washoe County as well too, which is where Reno's at. So Trump is competitive in basically both of the major urban areas in Nevada. And I mean, clearly he's winning the Republican counties as well too. Yeah, this is not good for Kamala. This is not good for Kamala. This is not good for Kamala. Yeah, it looks like she's going to lose Nevada as well too. Wow. 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 Yeah, that's it's not looking good for Kamala. Yeah, New York Times, they're about to make it lean Trump. Yeah. It's not looking good. Not looking good. Yeah, let me I'm gonna check that out. I'm gonna check out TYT. Let's see.
In Florida, he did better than the polls would have indicated.
He has exceeded a performance tonight in every sort of metric that you can look at. So it was the margin of error plus in most of these states. I don't, Georgia is at 3 for Trump. North Carolina, 3 for Trump. Pennsylvania right now, 3 for Trump. Michigan, 6 for Trump. Again, none of these are in the last. Michigan and Pennsylvania not declared yet. Wisconsin, 4 for Trump. It's going toward Trump in all of these. Arizona, 1 to Trump. Nevada.
Let me see what Cheng is
If the owners of every one of those buildings is not a Democratic donor, I would be shocked. Okay, giant amounts of money funneled to all their donors, and we get no help. So we just wasted a couple more $1 billion in LA. That'll be great. But that's the thing. Look, that gets to the overall point because LA is not important. It's one city in a giant country, right? What's important is that the Democratic Party keeps telling us that how they have so many smart leaders. Congressman Cohen today, just everybody's smart. The consultants are smart. All the leaders are smart. Or the governor's smart. The mayor's smart. They're all wonderful, competent, etc. Well, then how come they keep losing to Trump? How come they keep clowning themselves and not being able to fix a single thing? So here, I'll give you one of the things I would have done. So there's always a feeling at the end of an election when Democrats lose of like, well, I guess there was nothing we could have done. No, that's not remotely true. You could have actually run a real campaign. So what's a real campaign? So she put out some good things in the beginning and we were excited about it. She had some economic populist policies about housing and price gouging, etc. We said, attaboy, and she picked Tim Walz. That was the correct decision. So at that point, she goes, Biden was way down, she skyrockets. Takes a big leap, right? And at that point, she then turns around and goes and sends Mark Cuban all over CNBC to go, remember, I love business interests. All the CEOs are on my side. Dick Cheney's on my side. Liz Cheney's on my side. Every CEO's on my side. Oh my God, I love corporations. Don't worry, I'm not gonna do the price gouging plan. I'm not gonna do it at all. She's never gonna do the price gouging plan. They swear up and down on CNBC and all over cable news. Well, then she lost her lead. Why do you think you're getting the lead? Why do you think you lost the lead? No, they'll never figure it out. Never figure it out.
See, the housing about Cenk that really gets me, this dude is so laughable because he thinks he's smarter than he really is, right? This is the same guy who thought that Kamala Harris would win. He thought that he could run for president, right? He thought he would actually be competitive in a Democrat primary, okay? That's how delusional this guy is. But he's actually really not that smart. And I'm not saying that he's not a smart guy. I'm not saying that he's not intelligent. But a sign of intelligence is being aware of your own intelligence, right? Knowing that, hey, you know what? I'm not a genius. I might be decently smart, but I'm not a genius. And when you are decently smart, but you think that you're a genius, that actually makes you not as smart as you actually are, right? I'm just saying. I hope that makes sense. That is the type of person that Cenk is. Okay, because he's the same type of guy that came out here and talked about the Ann Seltzer poll. He tried to say that, all the right-wing polls are wrong. He called it Atlas Intel poll a garbage poll, a trash poll, a right-wing poll, even though it was the most accurate poll of 2020, right? It looks like Atlas, it looks like they're spot on this time around as well too, right? Because, again, it went against his own biases, right? And to me, it's just funny because he thinks he knows it all. He thinks he has all the answers, but he's consistently wrong. Like, you're just always wrong. How can you always be wrong, but think that you're always right when you're always wrong? That's the crazy part about it. This dude is literally making the exact same argument that they were just talking about on News Nation. What are Democrats going to do? Are they going to be more progressive or are they going to actually be sane? Cenk is arguing that, well, Kamala lost because she wasn't as progressive as she was when she first launched the campaign. She was winning at the beginning because she was being progressive, right? This is what Cenk is arguing, okay? However, that's not why she was winning. It has nothing to do with the things that she was saying. It had everything to do with the media hype behind Kamala Harris. That's what this guy doesn't understand. That's what he doesn't get. He thinks it's because of the stuff that Kamala Harris was saying. No, the initial boost for Kamala Harris had everything to do with the media hype machine behind her. It had everything to do with that, and it had nothing to do with what she was saying because she wasn't saying anything. Okay? She wasn't articulating any policies. She wasn't being transparent about anything. It took her a month to do one interview. And then she finally did an interview on CNN, and it was a complete and total softball. So don't sit here and try to tell me that, oh, well, Kamala, she was winning at the beginning because she was so populist and she was so progressive. And when she moved to the middle, that's when she started losing. No, she started losing when she opened her mouth, right? It didn't matter what came out of her mouth. She just opened her mouth, right? That's why she started losing, because the media hype machine could not hide Kamala Harris for who she actually is. She's a very mediocre and unimpressive politician who has taken a lot of insane positions that she can't really defend, and she can't articulate why she took those positions in the first place or why she feels differently about those positions. But again, Cenk, instead of actually coming to the right conclusion, which is that Kamala Harris was never popular in the first place as a progressive or as the fake moderate that she is today, instead of analyzing it correctly, he thinks that, well, she was popular when she first got in the race because she was a progressive, right? She was embracing the progressivism. And it's just a complete disconnect from reality, right? And again, a lot of those polls as well, too, I will say, that was showing Kamala Harris ahead of Trump at the beginning when she first got into the race were probably fake. They were probably manufactured polls to try to make it seem like Kamala Harris was doing better than she actually was.
Plan. It's a pretty good plan. I would have been more clear that, hey, private equity will be banned from buying homes. These sons of bitches on Wall Street are buying all our homes and driving up the housing prices. And what happened? She almost never talked about housing again. So, and so guys, it also matters how you talk about things. So it's one thing to go, I have a good plan on housing, and then and here's my anodyne, normal, boring, dull ad on it. Maybe, right? It's another thing to go, I'm gonna get those sumbitch Wall Street guys. Here's how much our housing prices were before private equity started buying up all the homes. Here's what they are now. Well, these guys are gonna drive us all out of the market. They're gonna take all of our homes and they're gonna turn us into renters, and they're gonna make us work for them the whole time.
Oh, wow.
Now, if you tell a Democrat that, they go, no.
Wow. New York Times has Pennsylvania at 95%. Yeah, so it's basically over, right? It's over. That's basically the election, okay? I mean, that's it, guys. That's it. I mean, the New York Times has Trump at a 95% chance, which basically means that it's over. Like, mathematically, it would be very hard for Kamala Harris to come back, right? She just doesn't have the numbers. They're just not there, considering the margins. So yeah, it's basically over.
It's counted already. So
not even that big of an advantage.
Not that big of an advantage, but it's more the numbers, right? I mean, there are only 326,000 votes that have been counted in Kent County, and 9% of what's 10%.
Yeah, it's basically over. It's basically over. Let's see.
A sign that we do expect to hear from him.
Want to enact something along the lines of the proposals he's made. Republicans have said we passed an immigration bill, H.R. 2, which was a
compromise package.
A tough. It wasn't a compromise package. It was a tough immigration bill.
At least.
It was no HR2.
He's talking about the House.
The House version is what I'm saying. The Senate version was bipartisan. The House version, when you ask Speaker Johnson, what have you accomplished? He said, well, we passed all this legislation, but it just died in the Senate because Chuck Schumer wouldn't even allow a vote on it, assuming that Republicans hold on to the House, and we have no idea, but it's not crazy.
But you're getting into a level of detail that I think, I mean,
my point is just that
Donald Trump campaigned on mass deportations. So this
what
is
I'm saying
what
is
this
he could
vote
do
was for.
That's what I'm saying. My point is whatever Donald Trump wants, if they have the Senate now, if they get the White House and if they get the House, if they keep the House, whatever Donald Trump wants will become law. There will not be the backstop of the Senate controlled by Democrats.
Did not want the backstop. This is what I'm trying to say. We may be looking at a map of voters who weren't looking to give him a backstop.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Not to get too sort of dorky here, but I think it is still possible, if he is president, that some big pieces of legislation could be stopped in the United States Senate, because legislation at this point still needs 60 votes. But it is the cabinet who he's going to have in his, not just in and around his administration, but again, the bench. That is all regular majority.
Yeah, it's interesting when you think about it, because the Supreme Court they ruled on the Chevron deference and basically said executive agencies can't have the untrammeled authority to do what they want. It has to be passed by Congress. And you could end up with the Democratic minority. I mean, again, all of this is somewhat speculative. Democratic minority in the Senate being able to block legislation, and the Trump agencies not able to enact it on their own.
Yep. Just one of many things that we would be talking about if Donald Trump does, in fact, win. We're not there yet. Jake, over to you.
Thanks, Dana. Let's bring you back to the key race alert and where we stand with the battleground states that we have not called yet. Pennsylvania, Donald Trump in the lead, 51.1% to Kamala Harris's 47.8%. Donald Trump has an almost 220,000 vote lead. That's with 93% of the estimated vote in from the great Keystone State. Michigan, Donald Trump up 52.4% to Harris's 45.8%. Donald Trump with a more than 244,000 vote lead in Michigan with 66% of the estimated vote in. In Wisconsin, Donald Trump 51.2%, Harris 47.1%. Donald Trump with a more than 120,000 vote lead with an estimated 89% of the vote in from the Badger State of Wisconsin. Arizona, Donald Trump in the lead 50% to Harris's 49.1%. Donald Trump has a 16,000 plus vote lead with an estimated 53% of the vote in from Arizona. In Nevada, Donald Trump in the lead there, 51% to Kamala Harris's 47.4%. Donald Trump with a more than 37,000 vote lead with 70% of the estimated vote in from Nevada. John King?
You're looking at the map and we're watching, and we're just trying to see. The only question really now is, well, the first question is, can the vice president win Pennsylvania? If she does not,
no,
Donald
she
Trump
can't. Polymarket has Trump at 98.8. Yeah.
Your priority is here, and you'll notice all three of those states are red. That's the.
Okay, this is not going to be 2020, guys. I promise you. Please go to sleep tonight. No, it's not going to be 2020, right? I'm telling you, it's not going to be 2020. Okay, you can go to sleep, and I'm telling you, you can rest comfortably. I wouldn't be telling you this if I didn't feel this way. Okay, trust me. You can go to sleep tonight feeling comfortable that you're not gonna wake up and see what's the thing? that thing, right? That fraud thing, right? It's not happening, okay? I'm telling you guys. It's basically over, right? It's mathematically it's over at this point. Because Trump is basically about to win Pennsylvania. Like Trump is gonna win Pennsylvania. Okay? It's over. The math ain't mathing for Kamala Harris right now.
Maybe the end will look a little better than this. Maybe the vice president can come back. But again, you look at here, Donald Trump getting 21% in Philadelphia, the vice president getting 78%. You go back when Joe Biden won the state, Donald Trump was at 18, the president was at 81. And you're seeing this over and over again. You go out to Bucks County here, Joe Biden at 52%. If you round that up, Trump at 47 4 years ago. You come back here. I said early in the night, if this stays red, Donald Trump will win the Commonwealth.
Let's see. Yeah, I mean, if Trump wins Pennsylvania, Kamala can't win without Pennsylvania. She cannot win without Pennsylvania. So if Fox is calling Pennsylvania, it's over, right? Like the election is over. Yeah, and they did.
Historic.
Yeah, it's
everything
over.
was about
Yeah, it's over.
Pennsylvania.
That's it.
Everything from
Trump
the
is gonna
beginning
be
was
the
about
47th
Pennsylvania.
president, guys.
Now,
That's it.
former
It's
President
over.
Trump will win the
It's
state
over.
of Pennsylvania, and we can make that call. The 19 electoral
Yeah, that's
votes.
it.
That puts him at 267, not officially over the 270, but the path that it takes to get to 270. He is well on his way to becoming the 47th president of the United States in what is going to be the biggest political phoenix from the ashes story that we have ever seen.
Absolutely.
Ever.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm going to say it's more than Grover Cleveland in
1892.
Yeah, I don't think that Grover Cleveland was not the subject of a Russia investigation, 2 impeachments, 2 assassination attempts.
Indictments.
They have indictments, 91 indictments, convictions, and there is almost nothing that hasn't been thrown at this former president. And his tenacity in wanting to go back and run again, which he announced immediately after he lost in 2020. This is a huge historic moment in the United States of America as the former President Trump is closing in with just a few electoral votes away now from clinching 270 as Pennsylvania is called for Donald Trump.
We're looking live, 1:21 a.m. in the morning at Trump headquarters. The cheers coming up. We're told the former president is there, as well as J.D. Vance, Senator J.D. Vance. They are getting ready to hear from former President Donald Trump. Again, at 267, not there yet, but looking at where that vote is in Wisconsin, where the vote is in Michigan, where the vote is in Nevada and in Arizona. There is no path, Brit Hume, for Vice President Harris, and just 30,000 feet.
Over.
What this means.
Well, I'm
We
old
smoking on
enough to
that
remember
Kamala
when Richard
pack,
Nixon.
boy. We smoking on that Kamala pack, boy. For those of you out there that that smoke, make sure you smoke a fat one for me. I can't do it, right? I can't do it. Okay. Unfortunately, I can't do it. But for those of you out there that are drinking, smoking, whatever, do it for me, right? I'm just saying, take a shot for me, smoke a blunt for me, okay? I'm just saying. we smoking on that Kamala pack, boy. We lit. Okay? I'm so happy, guys. I'm so happy. This is the greatest political comeback story in American history. And I told you guys, I've been telling you, I was like, yo, it's just too perfect. It was too perfect. From January 6th to today, this man has survived FBI raids, indictments, assassination attempts. Just smear after smear after smear. They said the man was Hitler. He's a Nazi. They tried to throw him in jail. He survived everything. This man was working at McDonald's. He was a garbage man for a day. This is the greatest political story ever told. And we're living through history, guys, and it feels so good to be on the right side of history. It feels so good. Because I told you, when Kamala Harris got in the race, I was like, I'm going to work my ass off to make sure that Trump wins. I'm going to work my ass off to make sure that we get through the finish line. Because I knew the type of propaganda that the mainstream liberal media would put out there in order to try to defeat Trump. And I said, no, it can't go down like this. We defeated Biden, and then we got to defeat Kamala too. Okay, cool. Let's get it. Let's get it. And we did it, right? We did it. We did it. Man, Oh my goodness, man. I'm so happy right now. I'm so happy. Sometimes, guys, you feel helpless, right? You feel like you're just screaming into the void and that it doesn't matter, right? Like the country is just, it's just not a sane country anymore. But I always keep an optimistic outlook on the American people because I know that the American people still can be great, right? I know that we still are a country of sanity and sane people, right? People who can make the right decision when it comes down to voting in our leadership, right? So, you know, it's just one of those things, man. I just look back on these last 4 years and just the work, you know, day in and day out, just grinding. The ups and the downs. I think probably one of the lowest points of doing YouTube was after the 2020 election. It was terrible, especially after January 6th. It was really bad. It was not good. And going from that to now to today, it's an amazing feeling. It really is. And, you know, you look back at it and you say, hey, well, this is why you don't give up, right? This is why you just keep pounding. You just keep pounding. And eventually, you know, you break through. And I'm just happy that at least I survived, at least on YouTube, this long, right? Because a lot of people did survive, right? A lot of people did not survive. But, you know, hey, this is a historic moment. I'm happy to be a part of it. I'm happy that we made it through. And it's just, it really is crazy to think about. Life is, it's insane, man. It really is. This is history, and we're living in it.
Have the mantle that he can hand to the next Republican. So I don't know how Republicans ever go back to the old party that they were. But it is truly extraordinary, and it is all by the force of one guy, one man who had the fortitude, the strength, the vision.
No, I'm not going to cry. Right? I'm not going to cry. Okay? No matter how I feel about it, I'm not going to cry. So if anybody's looking for me to give you a Van Jones moment, you're not getting that. Okay? I'm not going to cry on screen. That ain't happening.
From a series of them. I mean, his party lost in the midterm when his term.
2018.
They lost in 2018. They lost the presidential election in 2020, and they had a major disappointment in 2022. Which, you know, one might have thought after all that the party wouldn't turn to him again, and yet, you know, in the face of that, plus all the things that Martha enumerated, the
Decision Desk has called it for Trump. So let's yeah, I mean, I had a good feeling that the election would be called tonight at some point. I just call this perfectly, man. I call this perfectly.
The indications were at this hour, but those conversations are happening in a lot of very different places at an incredibly high level with enormous stakes at play in both the Middle East and in Europe.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that's going to happen if this goes the way that if we follow this train of thought is that intelligence sharing between America and our traditional allies is likely going to end. The whole Five Eyes thing is likely going to end.
Here they go with all
if
the
you've got America.
Yo, the meltdowns over the next few days are going to be amazing. They're going to be amazing. They're going to be fear-mongering about all the things that Trump is going to do, right? That, you know, half the stuff they say, I kind of hope happens, right? Half the stuff they talk about, like the mass deportations, I hope that actually happens. If that actually happens, I'll be happy, okay? But some of this stuff, they're just going to fear-monger about, and it's just going to be a bunch of nonsense.
And on top of that, you've got reporting from the New York Times that they're considering, once there is a second Trump administration, if it happens, to stop performing background checks before giving people security clearance, meaning giving classified information to anyone. That's supposedly at the instigation of a Trump campaign official who was born in Moscow, who was unable to get a security clearance in the first Trump term, who has had multiple arrests and is currently under indictment, and who has reportedly been put at the top of a short list to be White House counsel. Man. And he is the one who has proposed getting rid of all background checks for security clearances, which means...
So again, more fear-mongering. Let me let's see ABC. I haven't done ABC. Oh my God, The View tomorrow, they're gonna be losing their minds. The Cackling Hens, They're going to be losing it. They're going to be cackling.
For example, David, Howard Lutnick, Donald Trump's longtime friend, the billionaire, who at the moment is chairing the Trump transition. I only say at the moment because we know, and I know Governor Christie is with us tonight, we know that the Trump transition team of yesteryear went through a transition itself after the 2016 one. Lutnick came out and actually said, nah, we're not going to give him a head of HHS or head of healthcare or anything like that. So I think that's going to be a bit of a question, David, in the coming days. There's been a lot of reporting, including by us here at ABC, about different lists that have been put together. As one person said to me, Donald Trump is very superstitious, David, as we all know. He has not leaned into a transition fully, not leaned into these conversations about a list. But if he wins, you better believe that's where his attention will turn quite quickly, David.
Really appreciate it. John Santucci with great reporting here for us, John. Thanks. John Carl, you've actually talked to former President Trump today and in recent days. Does he ever go there with you?
Look, what he's told me is that it will be very different than the last time. He said that when he got elected president the first time, that he didn't know anybody, he didn't know Washington, he relied on advice, perhaps advice by people like Reince Priebus. This time, he says he knows who he wants to be there, and that means he can staff his White House and his cabinet with true loyalists this time, not people that will ultimately defy him. I have to say, I just spoke to a very senior advisor of Donald Trump's who told me, this may not shock you, but that when he comes out on that stage, he plans to declare victory, flatly declare that he has won this race. He did that, of course, in 2020, but unlike that, we haven't called it. At least he has a solid reason for coming out and saying that.
Yeah,
in fact,
AKA is over. It's over. Right? It's over. They know it's over. This is cold.
X platform from Mark Cuban, who, of course, was a very prominent surrogate and supporter of Kamala Harris. I interviewed him just over a week ago. He's saying, congrats, Donald Trump, you won fair and square. Again, we haven't called it yet, but that's a very prominent supporter who was out there campaigning for Kamala Harris, going out and saying, congratulating Donald Trump, and by the way, also congratulating Elon Musk as well.
But that's certainly not the message coming from the Kamala Harris campaign. Just to be clear, Mark Cuban may be a very, a top supporter of Kamala Harris, but their campaign is still.
Mark Cuban is trying to save face, right? He's trying to save face. That's why he's coming out here and congratulating Trump. He's trying to save face. He humiliated himself supporting Kamala Harris, the worst Democrat candidate ever, right? Ever. Okay? I mean, come on. Democrats put up somebody worse than Joe Biden, right? Let's be real. Kamala Harris was worse than Joe Biden.
Impressive night, not only in the Sun Belt, but right through the Blue Wall states. And so, in not giving any sort of more explanation from the Harris campaign, this is where the conversation.
It's over. Okay, guys? I'm telling you, I would not be saying that it's over if it wasn't over. It's over, right? It's done. Donezo. Finito. Race. Done. I'm telling you, I would not be saying this if I was 100% sure. It's over. Okay, it's over.
Counted in these key states, but they are seeing exactly what we are seeing. This is certainly not the night they wanted and had hoped to have. Are they ready to come out and say that definitively? No.
All right. Former President Trump expected to speak at any moment in West Palm Beach. We'll go there just as soon as he begins talking. We'll be right back after the break, and we'll see you tomorrow.
All right, let's see. Meltdown from CNN. Let's see. CNN. Yeah, I heard that Decision Desk has called it.
There's a lot more blue there, but this is what I wanted to get to in 2016. This is Donald Trump remaking his 2016 map, and at the moment, if things hold up, we're not done yet out there. We got a long way to go, and sometimes Nevada takes days. It's possible he'll even add Nevada to the 2016 map. Now, we're not done, but this is a very impressive map for Donald Trump. I shouldn't have waited until 1:35 in the morning to do this, Jake, but as you know, we're on television. There's a great team of people here that you can't see, working the cameras and everything else. I have a great new media team that helps me with the Magic Wall. I want to show you one of the things the Magic Wall team, the new media team came up with as we look at these votes. So your challenge in Wisconsin, right? The vice president has to turn around Donald Trump's pretty big leads. I shouldn't say pretty big leads. Big leads, 125,000. Wisconsin, 2 elections in a row, decided by 20,000 votes and change. His lead with 90% of the vote in is 125,000. That's a landslide in current day Wisconsin. We're not done yet, but our team has come up with a great way to look at this. So you're looking at votes over time, right? And what is the challenge for the vice president? Well, the vice president needs to narrow the gap, but go back to the beginning. Trump was ahead early. Harris got ahead of him. They kind of danced together for a while. Then you see this flat line as we go We've moved 1 a.m. You see 1 a.m. down here. The only way for her to win is to close those. Not happening. Has not been happening for a long time. That's Wisconsin.
Right.
Let's move
Not
over
happening.
to battleground Michigan.
It's not going to
Same
happen.
thing. She starts off way ahead. He comes up. They're competitive. He pulls ahead. And again, you're going, we cross past midnight to where we are now after 1 a.m. Pretty much a straight line across, meaning what? She's not narrowing the gap as more votes come in, right? Which you're trying to come back. It's pretty simple to look at home. So there's those two there. And let's come over to the biggest of them all, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Closer. You see it right there. It's closer. But she opened up a big lead early on. That's the early votes. You see what happens. Then essentially, welcome to battleground Pennsylvania. They are just running in a straight line across. But the red line has stayed on top all the way across. That's close, 51 to 48. But she, that's
I'm
close.
changing the title.
But she needs
Trump
it to narrow even more.
wins 2024 election because he's definitely won. He's definitely won.
Possibility that it's going to close. And at the moment, there's no evidence that those lines are coming closer together. Closest in your home state, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. But again, Donald Trump at 51%, 191,000 votes ahead with 94% reporting in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Just want to go back in time. At the beginning of the night, I said she's the variable. Her first time on the national ballot as the presidential nominee. He was the constant. Not in my lifetime. 3 elections in a row.
All right, let me hit. I haven't hit NBC yet. Let me see what NBC talking about. NBC, what is NBC talking about?
I worry that if the Democrats get the House, then whatever he doesn't get done will be Hakeem Jeffries' fault, as opposed to his inability to produce on the promises he's made. But if we don't take the House, then I think he's got a tall order, and I think he's got to do the tariffs. I don't, and he doesn't need Congress for that. He can do the tariffs right away. I've been hearing from my friends that are in Europe. They're very worried about the lines of those countries being redrawn fairly quickly.
You mean Ukraine?
Yes, and more. Orban and other autocrats that now will feel this is a green light. I think NATO will be greatly diminished. I think our European allies will be very, very nervous. So that's another whole piece of this. So I think it really is important for us to know whether the Democrats take the House before we start speculating too much. And part of me, I want the Democrats to take the House because I think there'll be a check. On the other hand, they also will be a scapegoat.
Well, let's be clear. If the Republicans hold on to the House, they have the Senate. If they win the White House, you have an ideological 6-3 Supreme Court. You will have the Republicans in charge of every branch of government in this country.
And not to raise this specter, but it is possible that if Donald Trump wins another term, if that happens, and we have not called Pennsylvania or the race yet, so big ifs here.
Bro,
But if
stop
that
with this bullshit. Right? He won. He won. This coat. You see how they talk? They talk as if Trump has already won, right? Talk about what Trump's going to do in his second administration and this and that and all that. And then they turn around and say, well, if Trump went, come on, man. There's not a mathematical path to victory for her. There's no mathematical path to victory.
Highway is not exact, but it kind of cuts through here. And I want to talk about this because when we look at the counties and how Trump's doing here, this is where the Hispanics are. This is the Latino corridor, if you will, in Pennsylvania, because I want to show you how important this is. So when we start, we can start right here. We'll start in York County, overperforming in York County as we move up. Lancaster, about even there. We'll keep going. Berks County here, overperforming again. Almost all the votes in there. We go.
Let me see what Roland Martin talk about. Watch these black people cry, bro.
I think that they allowed that man to run away with many economic points that they could easily have made.
All he said it was a bad economy. He made no specific points.
No, he didn't. He said nothing.
Right, nothing.
But both of them claim they've
this
got
man
lower
has untreated
inflation.
syphilis.
But nobody,
he said nothing.
No president can quote lower inflation. I mean, she could have been far more specific. Now, she was specific on a number of things. She talked about price gouging and things like that. I think those were useful things. But I think that she missed the opportunity, frankly, to make the economy plain.
Okay.
And I
Make
think
it
that
plain.
she could have. I mean, and especially, I think she had a winning slice with the opportunity economy. I mean, I think that when she talked about the caring economy, and many people got older parents.
hold on.
I don't think she made.
Don't ignore what Charlene said. These people
laid
not
out.
thinking about.
You said specific. But here's but
No,
let's
what specific?
no. But here's my whole point. She could be more specific. Okay, but she was specific.
Yeah.
He wasn't.
Right.
They still numbers show they still trusted him on the economy.
Right.
So again,
Right.
How do you run?
Yes.
How do you run against somebody who offers no specifics, who offers no policies, who literally said in a debate, I don't have a plan.
Concept.
I got concepts.
Right. You're right.
Of a plan.
Who makes that person accountable? Yeah. Who effed up this entire time? The New York Times, the two so-called papers of record, the Washington Post that was too cowardly to do it.
Listen to these niggas. Listen to these niggas, bro. I'm gonna keep it 100% raw and uncut, okay? Listen to them, okay? Listen to them. They blaming everybody except Kamala. They blaming everybody except Kamala, bro. Blaming everybody except Kamala. This is New York Times' fault. Trump didn't have no policies, etc. Listen to these people.
Worse than this, let's blow this thing up. Which is why they vote for Trump.
Wait. No, go ahead. I'm gonna come back.
I like to think about a lot of this stuff in my Southern context. And we were talking earlier about the whole conversation about black jobs. So it took someone in Louisiana to kind of like break this down for me, what he was trying to say. And I know for a fact that after Katrina, there were a lot of black folks complaining about losing their jobs, about losing their construction jobs, losing all types of jobs to Latino workers that came in to help rebuild New Orleans. So the black jobs thing may not have landed with the echo chamber, us, but it landed with other people because they understand and decipher his Trump speak, right? And then there are people, I have seen this, I have witnessed this across the country, who watches Fox News all day. They repeat Fox News talking points. Even the Africa article that I sent you this morning, it was repeating Fox talking points. And we cannot forget the power of television. People actually believe the successful Donald Trump from The Apprentice. They believe that. That's why they think he's good on the economy. We can throw it away all we want to, but they really believe that.
That's such a good point.
It's not a belief. That's just a fact. That's what people live. People live through a good Trump economy. See, again, they're so disconnected. They just refuse to acknowledge basic facts about reality. Trump's economy was good. There's a reason why Obama comes out here and he tries to take credit for Trump's economy, because Obama isn't so stupid. I mean, again, Obama, he doesn't try to gaslight people in the sense that he tries to tell them that, oh, well, Trump's economy was bad. No, he says, well, it was my economy. Even though that's gaslighting as well, too. But I'm just saying that you can't keep lying to people about the state of the Trump economy. The Trump economy was good, okay? It's not a belief. It's just a fact. It's just the reality, okay? The Biden-Harris economy is not good, right? That is the difference. These people refuse to acknowledge that. Everybody has a problem except them. Apparently, right? They don't understand why is it that normal, everyday people who are not rich and, out of touch like these people, why they don't feel like the economy's good. They don't understand it. They think it's a problem with the people, when it's actually, a problem with these people. They're disconnected.
Asked me to move my stuff. I spread out. And we started talking, and she was telling me that Kamala was a communist. And I said, where did you hear that? She said, on TV. I said,
my first thing.
I wrote a column called Where You Get Your News From. So I asked her, I said, well, she said, don't you watch the news? I said, I do. She said, what do you watch? I said, MSNBC, CNN, and Roland. I said, what you watch? She said, Fox. And she
MSNBC, CNN, and Roland. That's what this woman watch. MSNBC, CNN, and Roland. And you wonder why they can't understand why Trump won, right? They can't understand why average everyday voters decided that, hey, we should go with Trump. Why they feel like Trump was better on the economy. It's because, again, you watch MSNBC, CNN, and Roland. You're out of touch, okay? You're out of touch with reality.
Tucker Carlson said that she was a communist. I said, and you believe that? Blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And she said, well, why would he say it if it wasn't true?
Oh, Jesus.
And I mean, and she was adamant. I mean, I was praying for my friends to come because I didn't want to have to cuss the lady out because I didn't know her.
Yeah.
And so I was waiting for my
Adamant.
friends to come pick me up. But she was absolutely adamant. She even said, if you're going to have an attitude, I'll move. I'm like, see ya.
It's a white woman?
Wouldn't want to be ya.
It's a white woman?
No, this was a sister.
Oh.
This was a woman. She had white hair.
So you assume that she's perhaps receives some form of government benefits?
Greg.
From the fact that she went to the
No, I
Garden.
mean like Social Security,
the fact
in other
that
words,
she went to the Garden
support,
district.
you know, state support,
but
like socialism is what I'm really gonna get.
No.
New Deal, New Great
Okay.
Society policy.
Girlfriend had been to the
That's
Garden
what I mean.
district and bought this pocketbook that cost $8, which she didn't try to sell me.
Well, she might have bought it with her Social Security check. I'm just saying.
No. If you buy
Medicaid, Medicare, any of those.
If you shopping in the Garden district for bargains, you ain't wealthy.
Yes.
You got some benefits coming from somewhere. The thing that struck me so much was, hey, and I made an assumption and I judge it. If you don't like it too bad.
That's not a judgment. I'm just saying that people who hate communism so much don't seem to have any problem with public subsidies.
Right. How about
not
that?
at all. No, I get,
One of the things that, let me put this out here. Let me put this out here. I had said this here. Eugene, I'm going to go to you. I had said when there was all this talk between June 27th, June 28th, and July 21st, I said to a number of people that the greatest concerns that I had was Harris holding on to Biden's white coalition. Jonathan Martin, Politico, he and I were texting the last couple of days, and he said, I remember you saying that. I said that was my greatest concern. And if I go back to 2020.
Damn. This is like a funeral, bruh. It's like a funeral.
Get the nomination. Black people, no, it wasn't Katanji. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Black people in South Carolina said, no, not Clyburn. Black people in South Carolina said,
they mad, bruh.
Which white man can beat that white man?
Which is old race logic.
If you go back and look at 2020, you go look at the roster.
That's old race logic right there.
It was Klobuchar, Buttigieg, Bloomberg,
Like 16
Harris. It was 16. No. It was black people sat there and went, all right, this is a white supremacist, crazy, deranged, who can beat him? And they were like,
Because that's what I said.
this white man right here. And this is what people I think kept missing. It kept missing with the black voters in South Carolina. Black people ain't stupid.
They're pregnant.
Black folk go, we know white people. And we know which white people can beat white people.
Right.
Joe Biden appealed to, so he was old, he had lots of experience, and he appealed to white folks in Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, in those places, rural voters in Georgia. Oh, he's gonna be a steady hand, he's competent. Did they call Joe Biden a communist? Nope.
Right.
They called Joe Biden a Marxist.
Yep.
Nope. They didn't say any of this sort of stuff. Now, he went.
Yeah, clearly they don't really watch, right wing media or whatever. But look at them. They have to make everything about race. They can't analyze anything without looking at it through the lenses of race. Instead of just being honest about why Kamala Harris lost, she's just not a good candidate. Democrats didn't have democracy within their own party, right? It turns out when the elites of the party choose the candidate instead of the people that, hey, they're not going to have as good of a chance of winning. Instead of actually just acknowledging the truth, they got to make it about race. They got to make it about race. And it's sad. It really is. Yes, I know Trump won. Trump won. Yeah, I know. We're going to celebrate. We're going to celebrate. Yeah, I mean, that's just what it is. That's just what it is. And as long as they just analyze everything through the lens of race, they're never going to figure it out. This is why I say they're not going to change. The Democrat Party is not going to, they're going to get even crazier because you have those type of people in the party. You have the race hustlers, you have the far leftists, you have the lunatics. As long as those people are part of the Democrat Party, they're not going to change. And I'm cool with that, right? I'm totally fine with that. Because as long as that is the party, if that's what they're embracing, they're going to continue to lose. They're going to continue to lose.
Election night coverage, 2024 election. This is the scene at Trump headquarters in West Palm Beach. Celebration has broken out. The crowd now eagerly awaiting what they hope and believe will be an appearance by Donald Trump. The stage is set. We understand the glass teleprompter has been installed around the podium, so all seems to be in readiness.
By the way, we saw the crowds cheering a few moments ago. Another network has called the race for Trump, which explains the cheers inside the headquarters. We have not. Just a reminder, our decision desk, which is in Philadelphia, crunches those numbers. And the motto there is they don't need to be first, they need to be right. And we really do exercise an abundance.
What network is called a race for Trump? Let me see. Is it Fox News? I mean, come on. They just lying to themselves at this point. You just lying to yourself. Yeah, Trump.
Rough and tumble style that we've seen in Donald Trump towards the end of this. But now he will take the stage tonight as the next president of the United States, and he will not be able to run again. Yeah. And I think that is another liberating factor potentially for President Trump. Katie.
We'll never underestimate the power of unfinished business. This is a president who has caught lightning in a bottle twice, and the second time around, he now has a MAGA mandate. He will have a Senate that he can use to push through his cabinet appointees who can work with him on legislation, who could potentially replace a number of justices on the Supreme Court.
Who could build a wall.
He could build a wall. He has a working group in Washington, D.C. We'll see what happens with the House, but he also has been working very hard on his transition, get the right people around him. He talks about the lessons he's learned about the first time in the White House. So this is a mandate tonight for him. And I think you should get a lot of credit for doing the work on the ground, going to these states to pull these Senate candidates across the line with him.
Britt, what do you think the analysis is going to be? There's going to be a lot of time to digest all of this. We're focused now on what the incoming president is going to say. What do you think the analysis is going to be on the Democratic Party and what went wrong there?
Well, I think it's going to be, agonizing. I think it's going to take a little while for a consensus to form about what the party needs to do next, or what it did wrong this time. It'll be grudging at first. One can certainly imagine that, if the party were smart and shrewd political voices were heeded, that there'd be some major changes in their agenda and their approach in this. And you think of the issue sets that they tried to run on against this man that failed. They need to reconsider all of that. And I think it'll take a while. Now, our colleague and friend Mark Halperin,
they're going to ratchet up the Trump derangement, right? They're going to try to impeach him. As soon as he gets in office, they're going to try to impeach him. That's exactly what they're going to do. This is why Republicans have to win the House, right? Republicans have to win the House. It's extremely important for Republicans to win the House at this point.
The stories, probably with a lot of anonymous sources.
Again, maybe we're celebrating a little bit too early, right? Because again, Republicans need to win the House. I just want to make that clear.
Should have dropped out the day after, not dropped out, but said he was not running for re-election on the day after that midterm in 2022, and either endorsed her or said, let there be a primary, and Dr. Jill Biden, there will be thoughts about her. And I wonder how chilly that White House is going to be for the next 90 days as they try to figure it out.
And let me just say, that as Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris will certify the election results on January 6th.
A lot of irony in that moment.
That's what I love to see right there.
This is how our country is organized, and it's a great education, I think, for people who had very high passions in this race. There are Democrats who were fervently for Joe Biden. He performed poorly during a debate, and the party switched to Kamala Harris, and there was genuine excitement, I think, built over a period of time. And some of that excitement was an aversion and almost a dislike and a disdain for Donald Trump. But I hope it's a moment that we can all grow from, because if we don't, not in a selfish, partisan way, Democrats won't progress. And I don't think you can fly and soar as a great country unless you have both wings working together. And President Trump, tonight, I'm going to be interested in that tone. Kayla, I was reminded of your words, reminded of what you said as you shared it. I remembered that story. And I hope and pray for the country tonight that President Trump, who has every right to be joyful, every right to celebrate, will give a speech with that tone tonight that in many ways could help him do all of the things that he campaigned on in this campaign.
What does this mean for the never-Trumpers, the Republicans, and the Lincoln Project people, and Bill Kristol and people like that who seem to abandon everything they'd ever previously believed in order to oppose Donald Trump?
Well, they just got to become Democrats. They just got to become Democrats.
We'll get to the never-Trumpers soon enough and the hundreds of millions of dollars wasted on them.
Yeah, for real.
Look, Donald Trump won this on policy and personality. I don't want to be remiss here. He is talking about energy independence, manufacturing, an economy where everybody is working, no new foreign wars, getting out of the entanglements we currently have, respecting and resourcing law enforcement, border patrol, military. And by the way, friends, we don't get those policies without that personality. What did we hear during the Republican primaries? I want Donald Trump's policies without his personalities. Good luck with that. You don't get this strength and this resolve and this toughness. You don't get those policies without that. But I want to say this. It's on this phone that Huma Abedin placed the call 2:30 a.m. on November 9th, 2016. And on the other line was Secretary Clinton to concede the race to Donald Trump on my phone. I handed it to him, and I said to Vice President-elect Mike Pence, make sure Hillary actually concedes. She did. And President Trump was gracious to them, too. Yep. They came to the luncheon at the Capitol after the inauguration. The Obamas and the Clintons were there. I was there to see it myself. And then something just changed. The Washington Post said, let's impeach him at noon, 2 minutes after he's inaugurated. Melania wrote about this in her book. So, Harold, I hear you. I hope everybody can unify. But I got to tell you, my friend, I think it starts with your party and not mine.
Fair enough.
They had this guy in a courtroom. He's not an indoor cat. I get it. They had him in a courtroom. They have him impeached. They have him. And whether people think that was justified or not, now is a good time to respect the will of the people. Forget about us, the will of the people.
I agree with you. I'm just saying be a gracious winner and let's move the country forward. I agree. And I know you will. That was my only point.
I heard a gracious winner today when I talked to him. I really did. He's known for a while. I wrote a piece on FoxNews.com October 11th saying he's going to have a narrow landslide. I think he's felt that for a while. But he wanted to go and earn it.
And I even think the people around him have to be gracious, too. I think he would. I don't know him as well as you, but I hope the people around him can be gracious as well.
That's a different question.
We can always hope.
Well, that comes from the top.
Once more, I just want to say how much money was spent on this election. $15.9 billion with a bill.
Wow.
If you spend $1,000 a day for 2,740 years, that would be $1 billion. It was 16 times that. What has been spent on every race, the presidency, the whole deal. $16 billion. And here we are.
What is that, a check you can write to for every American? What did you say?
About $50. It's about 40.
I want my $50.
But I just want to say, every presidential race has a medium. You know, you go back to television, cable.
Yeah.
This was, in some ways, a podcast experience of a campaign. And those are free to go on podcasts. And you wonder how much of that money really needed to be spent when there's a lot of ways to reach people. But I think it's really interesting and something we'll be talking about a lot in terms of the reach of these endorsements.
I was struck by
Yeah, I heard that there was some people that told one of these mainstream liberal media outlets that they didn't vote for Kamala Harris because she didn't go on Joe Rogan. That's what I heard. All right, let's
process is structured, it's supposed to be set up so that if either candidate from either major party wins, each of them already has plenty of runway, plenty of on-ramp, plenty of ability to integrate their transition team seamlessly into the government so they can take office on inauguration day one sort of seamlessly. The Trump campaign has refused to do any of that. And in fact, Trump has refused intelligence briefings throughout the campaign itself. And so part of the question here is how well stood up are they as a professional organization in order to take on the responsibilities of governing if that is in fact what's going to happen here?
Howard Lutnick and Linda McMahon are the two co-chairs of the Transition Project, and I was talking with Howard Lutnick, who insisted to me just the other day that he has been engaged in phone calls with the litany of not only top executives but other political allies, as Donald Trump will make very clear who he intends to surround himself with in this administration. But you've also seen members of Congress, but also people like Tulsi Gabbard and Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who have been traveling with him on the campaign trail. You know, I covered the transition 8 years ago when Donald Trump was living at Trump Tower in Midtown Manhattan at the time, and a great many people came up and down those elevators to meet with him. We could see, I'm told, a similar operation taking place here out of Palm Beach, Florida, and Mar-a-Lago, effectively serving as the transition office. I was talking to one potential staffer who was indicating to me that they could envision sort of half of the operation being here, the other half being in Washington, D.C. I think that this is, Rachel, a transition here that one, Donald Trump has been very keen and very specific that he would intend to only have loyalists around here. And of course, Johnny McEntee, who is a part of Project 2025, used to be his director of personnel in the White House. They were building a database in which they were taking essentially applications from potential MAGA political appointees. There's about 3,000 political appointees in the executive branch that are appointed by the President of the United States. And I've been told that that database still exists. And to the extent that the transition team would like to use it, it could be made available to them. And when you're looking...
Yeah, so is it okay now for Trump to come out and say he supports Project 2025? Is it okay now to say, hey, we support Project 2025, okay? Hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. Hilarious. Come on.
When he came out and spoke and declared victory that was not his and never would become his, which belonged to Joe Biden. And so I think the question for a lot of people watching now is what he is going to say tonight as he's going to come out. And the race has obviously not been called yet. What he's going to say when he gets on stage after seeing the numbers that are better than even they were expecting this morning.
Yeah, and we know that their team had not spent a lot of time coming up with any drafts for him. They were going to let Donald Trump speak off the cuff, but they were trying to come up with scenarios in which Donald Trump would not come out early. The difference between now and 2020 is that their internal polling was showing them a lot of these kind of numbers. Maybe not exactly, obviously, as you said, they were even surprised by how generous some of the numbers were, but they did believe they had a real path towards winning, unlike in 2020 when that seemed a lot more uncertain, which meant that Donald Trump went into this in a very different...
Instead of just saying that he won, these people, they just... Again, this is why the media doesn't have any credibility, man. Just say that he won. There is no mathematical path for Kamala Harris to win. Trump won, right? Instead of just saying it, they're trying to pretend as if him coming out here and saying that he won is premature when it's not, right? He's won. Fox News would not be saying that Trump won had he not won, right? There is no mathematical path for Kamala Harris. And I keep checking. I'm looking. I'm like, okay, I'm up there. Is there a path for Kamala? No, there's no path for her. She's done. It's over.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is there as well. Dana White, Tucker Carlson. There are Donald Trump Jr., obviously Senator J.D. Vance, and those who are now, around him that has changed, including his own campaign managers Susie Wiles and Chris LaCivita.
Yeah, and one of the most interesting things about Susie Wiles and Chris LaCivita is they've really managed at times to keep him at bay and protect him from his own instincts. Obviously, not all the time. Donald Trump can say and do whatever he wants, and he often does. However, for example, one of the things we saw just over the weekend when he was in Pennsylvania speaking and making incredibly inappropriate and insulting comments was Susie Wiles go stand at the buffer and stare at him. Now, we heard from the campaign that they were saying, oh, he was just trying to wrap him because he was going too long. But there's obviously a lot of questions as to whether or not it was because of timing or because of the fact that everybody knew what he was saying could potentially cost him an election that was such narrow margins. I mean, there was a lot of uproar, even from his allies calling him afterwards on that. And that is something that Susie Wiles is very aware of. So his orbit has changed in terms of the people he is surrounding himself with, people who try to essentially stop him from his own instincts.
Yeah, and also, I think as they're looking at today and surprise themselves by how the numbers have gone, and some places, obviously they thought North Carolina and Georgia would be a gut check. Kristen Holmes will stay with you. Jake, back to you.
Thank you so much, and we have a major projection.
Hold on, here we go.
CNN projects that Donald Trump will win the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. This is a huge achievement for Donald Trump and a huge bucket of electoral votes, 19 of them, for his path back to the presidency. As of right now, with those 19 electoral votes added from Pennsylvania, Donald Trump is within spitting distance of 270 electoral votes. He has 265 electoral votes. Vice President Kamala Harris has 187 electoral votes. 270 are needed to win. John King, Donald Trump is within a hair's breadth of being reelected president.
Yes, he is. And let's just walk over. We'll look at where we are now, 265 to 187.
They hate
and you're
it.
looking at this map.
They hate it. They
he's
can't
leading
stand
here. He's leading here. He could get a congressional vote there. There's another one at Maine he could possibly get. But if you just look out here, he is almost certain to get this. The state of Alaska hasn't voted Democrat forever. That would get him to 268. So you're at the point right now, Jake, where pick it, right? Just pick it. There's be one congressional. He could possibly win both in Nebraska. That would get him to 270, assuming he wins Alaska, which I think is a pretty safe bet. Then you just look at the map, right? Unlikely to get any of these over here. He could possibly get an electoral vote out of Maine, but he's leading here, leading here, leading here, and leading there, and he needs two. He needs two. So if he gets that one. And that one, he's way up. And if he keeps holding these, then now that's where he was. When he won, he was at 304, 306. That would be 310. 310 if he sweeps. There's no guarantee he's going to sweep by any means. But he's leading in enough states right now. Plus, there's a couple other congressional districts on the board where he could pass. He could, emphasis on could, pass 310 electoral votes. You come back to where we are now, though. He's just in a commanding position. Let's do the math the other way. Okay, which is what gets interesting, right? This is now red in our count. There we go. That gets Donald Trump there. Here's the challenge when you do the math the other way. You assume that stays for the Republican. Let's just, for the sake of argument, big comeback for the Democrat. Big comeback for the Democrat. Democrat holds New Mexico, holds Minnesota. Excuse me for that one. Wins Wisconsin. Wins Michigan. You see this count? See this count? It's New Jersey. There's Connecticut. There's New Hampshire. Pop it out. What do you want to pick? You want to go state? Well, you could even go statewide. It's not going to happen, but let's say statewide. All right, you do all the Maine. You come back out. What does that get you? All right, so it comes down to this: if she wins everything. If she wins everything. The Pennsylvania is what makes Donald Trump, again, we're not done until we're done, but Pennsylvania, in every path she had, any reasonable, plausible path to 270, included the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania for the Vice President of the United States. So you get to a place now where as you come back over here, you're just looking at this map and you're saying, is she going to win Alaska? No one's going to Vegas on that one. So where is she in any of these? Do you start coming back? Is there any way to come back? 73% of the vote. It's 266,000 votes. Again, let's just look at the live outstanding vote. Let me move this up so you can see it better. Yes, yes, the outstanding vote in Michigan is disproportionately Democratic, but there are a fair amount. See those big red circles? A fair amount of Republican votes out there. When you have a 266,000 vote lead and a map that looks like that of what votes out, again, I don't do impossibles, but I do improbables, and that's improbable. You come over here to Wisconsin, again, 119,000 votes ahead. That's come down a little tiny bit. It has. But it's a state won by 22,000 votes in the last two elections. And Donald Trump is ahead at the moment by 119,000 votes. And so, again, you're looking at what's left. You're at 92%. Sure, the biggest is here. But look at those.
Yeah,
those are modest
Wisconsin's
circles
done.
for Republican votes as well. Essentially, in chess, she's blocked. Donald Trump's not across the line yet because we have more states to go through. But she is essentially blocked from getting to 270.
All right, stand by for a projection because CNN can now project that Kamala Harris will get that one electoral vote from Omaha. Nebraska gives its electoral votes according to congressional district. Kamala Harris will get one of them. Donald Trump will get another one of them. Of the 5, let's look at the electoral map. Donald Trump now has 266 electoral votes because we just gave him one from Nebraska's, I think, 1st congressional district. Kamala Harris has 188 because we just gave her one from Nebraska's 2nd congressional district. 270 are needed to win. Donald Trump needs only 4 more electoral votes in order to be the president. Dana?
I mean, Pennsylvania, if you look at those numbers, 266. 4 more. And you just saw the math that John did, the path that the different paths that he put out there for Donald Trump and that for Kamala Harris. And
I'm still
again, we're not.
I mean, that map of where she did not perform, the completely grayed out map where she never overperformed Biden more than 3%. That's just rough.
I think there are 2 stories here. One is the burden that she faced, and to go back to the very beginning of the night when we did the right track, wrong track. 26% of the country thinks that the nation is in the right track. 72% think they're in the wrong track. And when it came to the performance of Joe Biden, it was 41% to approve to 58% disapprove. So she had an enormous burden, and people are unhappy with the way the Biden-Harris administration has run this country for the last 4 years, and she did not succeed. I'm not sure it was possible for her to succeed in somehow positioning herself as an agent of change and distancing herself from Biden. There's another part of the story, though, we got to talk about, which is Donald Trump. The fact is that when you go back to January 6th of 2021 to today, it is an extraordinary comeback. He was a pariah when he left town on January 20th, refused to even go to the inauguration. There was the vast majority of members of his own party wouldn't be seen with him. He, over the course of the 4 years, he proceeds to win himself back into the party, declares right after the tremendous defeat of the Republicans. There was certainly an unsuccessful showing in the midterms in 2022, wins a contested primary, and this is his party. This is these voters.
It's not just his party.
What?
It's not just his party now, and that's
it's his country.
I mean, we have to be careful. We haven't called it yet, but Pennsylvania makes it extremely tough for Kamala Harris, and
listen to this cope. They will literally tell you mathematically it's damn near impossible for Kamala Harris to win. Right? There is no mathematical path to Kamala Harris win. They'll tell you that, and then they'll say, whoa, wait, hold on. We haven't called it yet. You got to be careful. We haven't called it yet. But you just told me that mathematically Kamala can't win. So why haven't you called it? Again, this is the dishonesty of the media, right? This is the dishonesty I'm talking about. They'll tell you she can't win, but then, we don't really want to call it yet. Okay, what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for?
Formerly Democratic sort of coalition voters who have moved in an extraordinary way. I mean, Latino men, an 18-point swing for Donald Trump. He got 18 percentage points more among Latino men than he did in 2020.
Also, the campaign made this concerted effort to go after the never Trump vote, being out there campaigning alongside Liz Cheney, talking about having Republicans in the cabinet. It seems like that did not move people, that is still, in some ways, the Never Trump community is kind of a homeless community, and it didn't help Democrats in this conversation in really any of these states. You don't get the sense that there was this vast, as you said, hidden vote that somehow pollsters missed or that people voted in secret. That kind of conversation, it just looks like it didn't pan out.
The fact is that the Trump campaign identified what the majority of Americans, and it appears that for the first time he is going to win the popular vote in addition to the electoral vote, what they cared about. That what they cared about is the fact that a box of cereal costs $9, that with Southern Republican governors shipping illegal immigrants north, that the whole migration issue has become a national issue, that you feel it in New York and Illinois and a bunch of northern states. The transgender issue was this version of the cultural wars. And, people were surprised at the fact that he spent more money on the transgender issue than he did on the economy or immigration in terms of advertising. And it obviously seems to have worked like gangbusters. So
according to Decision Desk, there's a 65.7% chance of the Republicans winning the House. So now it looks like the Republicans are going to win the House, right? There's a good chance they're going to win the House. And if that is the case, right, if Trump has the White House, the Senate, and the House, we in good shape. We're cooking, right? We cooking.
I mean, mistakes that were made, things that weren't looked at, obviously there's going to be a lot of finger pointing. There's going to be a lot of navel gazing. What stands out to you?
Listen, I'm still convinced that Kamala Harris performed better than Joe Biden would have tonight. I just think that there were so many of us, even those of us who didn't like Donald Trump, who after the debate performance couldn't.
And yes, I'm calling her a bitch because that's exactly what it is. Okay, I'm just being honest. Okay, I'm just being honest with this woman. I can't stand this woman.
Donald Trump, the man, but they felt better when he was in office. That's just the fact. It's the border. It's feelings around crime, feelings around the economy. And I think there was this very powerful ad, the Republican Jewish Coalition, that was all over the airwaves. A bunch of women sitting around, Jewish women, just saying, I can't stand him, but I felt like we were supporting Israel and we were stronger and we were tougher. And I think that resonates with people.
Yeah. Look, I don't want to engage in an autopsy prematurely, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of discussion, not just about what happened in this campaign, but about when parties lose, it's an occasion for evaluation. And I think the evaluation is necessary.
Do you think the Democratic Party will do that?
I think I think it will do that, and it should do that. And as I was saying to you guys before, I appreciate the Democratic Party because I think it believes in the use of institutions to help lift people up, and that we're a better country when you do. But the Democratic Party has become more of a suburban, college-educated, professional party, and it still feels allegiance to working people, and it still tries to fight for working people, but it approaches working people like missionaries, like Margaret Mead would approach the natives, and they come and the Democrats say, we want to help you become more like us, and the implication is
to Joe Rogan. It was that he did Joe Rogan. Can you believe Donald Trump did Joe Rogan? And Kamala Harris did a bunch of that too. Went on these niche podcasts.
Well, the media. Here's the upside. I don't know if it'll stay like this. I don't think Rogan helped himself with the media with how he conducted the conversation with Trump or with Vance. But the media intentionally does not cover digital media. And they do it because they're jealous and trying to pretend that it doesn't exist.
Well, it's because Joe Rogan makes $100 million.
These guys have huge audiences, huge reach within social media, and the media is pretending they don't exist. But I don't know. We'll see, and Tranter will help us understand in the autopsy of this. I would be surprised if the reason that Trump won was because of this huge outpouring of young males that don't usually vote. I think it's about who didn't come out for the Democrats, not who did come out for Trump.
Yeah.
Well, but it's also this. It's also this. Trump got normie Republicans back. Yeah. Right. So this is something Elizabeth and I have been talking about on her show for 3 months, which is the Republican Party unified sooner this time. In the 2 previous cycles, there were a lot of Republican holdouts, and Trump would be at 70% Republican support, 75% Republican support, 80% Republican support, dragging over. To Leland's point earlier in the night, you guys were talking about it earlier in the night. At whatever point you want to say it was it the Alvin Bragg case? There was some moment where the Republican Party said, it's Trump, and we're with Trump. That's what we're doing. Nikki Haley kept getting 20%, but 80% of Republicans got to Trump much sooner than they got to in previous cycles. And they'll say, and there's evidence to support it, there's already clear evidence to support it, that Donald Trump outperformed with Hispanic men, with African-American men. That's all true. But he is not winning. He has not won because he got basement dwellers out of their basement. He has won because the Republican Party flexed its muscle. They've added new people to their coalition, for sure. But this is how a Republican wins the presidency, and Donald Trump won like a normal Republican with the Republican Party united behind him. And guess what the normal Republican is? It ain't a young dude. The normal Republican is suburban. The base of the Republican Party are suburban and a lot of women, a lot of older voters.
So the cover of the New York Post, he's done it again, or done it again. There you go. Just because of the inside baseball, the arc of Donald Trump's relationship with Rupert Murdoch Media, and now the New York Post re-embracing him, is pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
Everybody loves a winner, especially when he has the power to crush you like a bug if he doesn't like you. And that is something that Mr. Murdoch is keenly aware of.
There was I know we were talking.
Another possible Secretary of State, Marco Rubio.
Oh, I'm sure. And if they do have a healthy enough majority in the Senate, they can perhaps afford to lose a senator.
Well, you can lose in Florida. In Florida,
yeah,
most of the places you have Republican senators.
I used to call him Little Marco. Now I call him Secretary Little Marco of State.
So we've gotten to the imitation part of the evening.
It's definitely late. Anyway, can we go back to that shot that Eric Trump posted of his dad backstage getting ready to give this speech of his? It was quite something.
Is Senator David Perdue there?
Yeah.
I hope he doesn't use it.
Former.
Doesn't use what? The speech?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I think that this is not a time for him to be locked onto a teleprompter. He no longer needs to worry about how we feel about his ability to meet a moment or to deliver.
Well, you're saying two different things. This is the moment for a well-written, thoughtful.
I agree.
All right, let me see. Let's see. Let's see. 39K. Oh yeah, let's watch this.
Where's the optimism and what's our plan forward? Look, before the election, on tyt.com, I put up a petition for basically a populist revolt, and I said we should form a populist voting bloc, no matter who wins. And so it has 6 planks that are all enormously popular: anti-war, money out of politics, negotiate all drug prices, not 10 out of 10,000. Okay, ban private equity from buying residential properties, enormously popular with everyone, higher wages, paid family leave, okay? Almost the entire country agrees to all of those positions. Those are theoretically Democratic Party positions, but they never do them, and they never even run on them. So we've got to capture one of the parties, and we should vote as a voting bloc. And if you vote as a voting bloc and you say to the Democrats, I'm not gonna give you a vote if you never deliver for me. So by the way, doubly true for Republicans. And the Republicans will do none of that. That fake populist Donald Trump, he isn't gonna get money out of politics. He loves money in politics. They think he's anti-war. They're gonna find out he ain't anti-war at all. Private equity, he's gonna try to figure out how much money he can get from them for once he retires. He's not going to regulate on private equity. He's not going to do any of these, negotiate drug prices. He said he was going to do it last time. Biden at least did 10. Trump did 0. So we've got to form a populist voting bloc that actually says, we care about policy. You pass these, we vote for you. You don't pass them, we don't vote for you. Mm-hmm. You can rebuild this Democratic Party from the ground up, and you have to. And last thing I'll say about it is in 2013, I did this video saying that this crazy radical senator from Vermont, Bernie Sanders, could beat Hillary Clinton in the 2016 primaries. At the time, of course, no one believed that. He was polling at 1 or 2%. And Bernie later told me he didn't even think he could do it. And I told him, I did this video 3 years ago saying you could. And he's like, holy cow. Why? Because Bernie's positions are intensely popular. He doesn't take donor money, so he's uncorrupted and he's honest.
The same old.
And he ran on economic populism.
Well, again, let's see.
January. Well, they do, people do know what's coming. It's going to be very real pain felt by a lot of people that look like us in this room. It's not an abstract thing. It's not an abstract thing like, you effed around and now you about to find out. We about to find out too. Some of us sitting in this room.
No question.
The pain will be felt, especially those of us that are outspoken, that have stood 10 toes down and put it all out there on the line. So the pain will be felt. Last thing I will say, this has set white supremacy up in a way in this country that will be felt for a very long time. Yes. That is what won tonight. And then we also have the outside agitation from the South Africans who have very complicated histories with apartheid. So it's a very unique blend of white supremacy that we are now dealing with and battling. And those things are very real. They're not abstract things. And I don't know what the next steps are. I know personally, I need to take a few days. This is a lot.
Sure.
I need to take a few days. It's a lot.
Listen to these race hustlers, man. Listen to these clowns. Listen to these clowns. This is set up white supremacy. I need a few days. I don't know how to handle it. I don't know how to handle Donald J. Trump being my president again. How did you survive the first term, right? What happened the first term? Okay, were you harmed? Were you hurt? No, I don't think you were hurt, right? I actually think that you probably were pretty well off in Trump's first term, right? But again, if you listen to these clowns, they really want you to think that the world is ending. The world is ending for black folks and so-called people of color because Trump was reelected. Wow.
Then figure out what next steps are. But I know black folks.
Oh, Trump is on stage. I'm going to watch this.
Thank you very much. Wow. Well, I want to thank you all very much. This is great. These are our friends. We have thousands of friends in this incredible movement. This was a movement like nobody's ever seen before. And frankly, this was, I believe, the greatest political movement of all time. There's never been anything like this in this country, and maybe beyond.
Big facts.
And now it's going to reach a new level of importance because we're going to help our country heal. We're going to help our country heal. We have a country that needs help, and it needs help very badly. We're going to fix our borders. We're going to fix everything about our country. And we made history for a reason tonight, and the reason is going to be just that. We overcame obstacles that nobody thought possible, and it is now clear that we've achieved the most incredible political thing. Look what happened. Is this crazy?
Yeah, no, it is crazy. It's insane.
But it's a political victory that our country has never seen before, nothing like this. I want to thank the American people for the extraordinary honor of being elected your 47th president and your 45th president. And every citizen, I will fight for you, for your family, and your future. Every single day, I will be fighting for you, and with every breath in my body, I will not rest until we have delivered the strong, safe, and prosperous America that our children deserve and that you deserve. This will truly be the golden age of America. That's what we have to have. This is a magnificent victory for the American people that will allow us to make America great again. And in addition to having won the battleground states of North Carolina, I love these places, Georgia, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, we are now winning in Michigan, Arizona, Nevada, and Alaska, which would result in us carrying at least 315 electoral votes. But it's much easier doing what the networks did or whoever called it, because there was no other path. There was no other path to victory. We also have won the popular vote. That was great. Very proud of that. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. And, winning the popular vote was very nice, I will tell you. It's a great feeling of love. We have a great feeling of love in this very large room with unbelievable people standing by my side. These people have been incredible. They've made the journey with me, and we're going to make you very happy. We're going to make you very proud of your vote. I hope that you're going to be looking back someday and say that was one of the truly important moments of my life when I voted for this group of people beyond the president, this group of great people. America has given us an unprecedented and powerful mandate. We have taken back control of the Senate. Wow, that's great. And the Senate races in Montana, Nevada, Texas, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, were all won by the MAGA movement. They helped so much. And in those cases, every one of them, we worked with the senators. They were tough races. And I mean, the number of victories in the Senate was absolutely incredible. And we did tele-rallies. We did tele-rallies with each one of them. And sometimes we did 2 or 3 and it was amazing to look at all of those victories. Nobody expected that, nobody. So I just wanted to thank you very much for that. And you have some great senators and some great new senators. And it also looks like we'll be keeping control of the House of Representatives. And I want to thank Mike Johnson. I think he's doing a terrific job. Terrific job. I want to also thank my beautiful wife, Melania, First Lady. Who has the #1 best-selling book in the country. Can you believe that? Oh, no, she's done a great job, works very hard to help people. So I just want to thank her. But I want to thank my whole family, my amazing children, and they are amazing children. Now, we all think our children are amazing. Everybody here thinks their children are amazing, but that's a good thing when you think they are. But Don, Eric, Ivanka, Tiffany, Barron, Laura, Jared, Kimberly, Michael, thank you all. What a help. What a great help. My father-in-law, Victor, is tremendous, and we miss very much Melania's mother, Amalia. We miss Amalia, don't we, huh? She would be very happy right now, standing on this stage. She'd be so proud. She was a great woman, that one. Beautiful inside and out. She was a great woman. I want to be the first to congratulate our great, now I can say, Vice President-elect of the United States, J.D. Vance. And his absolutely remarkable and beautiful wife, Usha Vance. And he is a feisty guy, isn't he? You know, I've said, go into the enemy camp. And you know, the enemy camp is certain networks. And a lot of people don't like to, sir, do I have to do that? He just goes, okay. Which one? CNN, MSDNC? He'll say, all right, thank you very much. He actually looks fun. He's still like the only guy I've ever seen. He really looks forward to it, and then he just goes in and absolutely obliterates them. Say a couple of words.
Wow. Well, Mr. President, I appreciate you allowing me to join you on this incredible journey. I thank you for the trust that you placed in me. And I think that we just witnessed the greatest political comeback in the history of the United States of America.
Can I say that? Haven't I been saying that? Oh, man.
And under President Trump's leadership, we're never going to stop fighting for you, for your dreams, for the future of your children. And after the greatest political comeback in American history, we're going to lead the greatest economic comeback in American history under Donald Trump's leadership.
Thank you very much. He's turned out to be a good choice. I took a little heat at the beginning, but he was, I knew the brain was a good one, about as good as it gets. And we love the family, and we're going to have a great 4 years, and we're going to turn our country around, make it something very special. It lost that thing called special. We have to make it so. We're going to make this so great. It's the greatest country and potentially the greatest country in the world by far. And right now, we're going to just work very hard to get all of that back. We're going to make it the best it's ever been. We can do that. If we had to wait longer, I don't know. It was going bad, and it was going bad fast. We're going to have to seal up those borders, and we're going to have to let people come into our country. We want people to come back in, but we have to let them come back in, but they have to come in legally. They have to come in legally. Let me also express my tremendous appreciation for Susie and Chris, the job you did. Susie, come here. Come here, Susie. Chris, come here, Chris. Susie likes to stay sort of in the back, let me tell you. The ice maiden, we call her the ice maiden. Come here, Chris. Susie likes to stay in the background. She's not in the background. Come here, say something.
This wasn't expected, but I just want to thank, obviously, President Trump for this journey. It was a great one, and he's a hell of a candidate, and he's going to be a hell of a great 47th president. And this team that we had, the best team, and, of course, even my boss, Susie Wiles, the best. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you, Susie. Look at this. She's shy. I've never seen her be shy before. Susie. They're great. Everybody up here is great. Everybody up here is very special. But the Trump, who did you say? Oh, let me tell you, we have a new star. A star is born, Elon. Now he is. Now he's an amazing guy. We were sitting together tonight. You know, he spent 2 weeks in Philadelphia and different parts of Pennsylvania, campaigning. You know, he sent the rocket up 2 weeks ago, And I saw that rocket, and I saw it coming down. I saw it. When it left, it was beautiful, shiny white. When it came down, it didn't look so pretty. It was going 10,000 miles an hour, and it was burning like hell. I said, what happened to your paint job? He said, we've never made a paint that could withstand that kind of heat. And but I saw it come down and turn around. And it was, it's like 22 stories tall, by the way. It looks a little smaller than that, but it's big. And it came down, and you saw that fire burning. And I'm saying, only Elon can do this. It must be an Elon. And I tell the story. I told it last night. I had a man on the phone. I had the screen muted, no sound. I was talking to a very important man, happens to be here. And that very important guy, one of the most important people in, I would say, the country, actually. But, I was president, and now it looks like I was going to be maybe president again, so I figured I could ask him to hold. So I asked him to hold. And especially because you're going to be president again, they hold. So I took the phone down, and I'm looking at the screen. I'm seeing this crazy thing that's going around and coming down. It looks like it's going to crash into the gantry. And I said, oh, no. And I said, do me a favor, do you mind holding for a couple of minutes? I want to see this. I thought it was a space-age movie or something. I put the phone down. Bad part, I didn't pick it up for 45 minutes, and he was holding. But this spaceship came down, and I saw those engines firing, and it looked like it was over. It was going to smash. And then I saw the fire pour out from the left side, and I put it straight. And it came down so gently, and then it wrapped those arms around it, and it held it. And just like you hold your baby at night, your little baby. And it was a beautiful thing to see. And I called Elon. I said, Elon, was that you? He said, yes, it was. I said, who else can do that? Can Russia do it? No. Can China do it? No. Can the United States do it other than you? No, nobody can do that. I said, that's why I love you, Elon. That's great. And when we had the tragic Hurricane Helene, and it hit North Carolina, they were really devastated, the water. This was a big water, as big as we've ever seen, water hurricane. It built lakes out of nothing. Fields became lakes, and the danger was unbelievable. And the people from North Carolina came to me and they said, would it be possible, at all possible, for you to speak to Elon Musk? We need Starlink. I said, what's Starlink? It's a form of communication. So I called Elon, and I'll tell you what, he had, and it was very dangerous. People would die. They had no communication. All the wires were down. I called Elon Musk. I said, Elon, you have something called Starlink. Is that right? Yes, I do. What the hell is it? He said, it's a communication system that's very good. I said, Elon, they need it really, really badly in North Carolina. Can you get it? He had that there so fast. It was incredible. And it was great. It saved a lot of lives. He saved a lot of lives. But he's a character. He's a special guy. He's a super genius. We have to protect our geniuses. We don't have that many of them. We have to protect our super geniuses. I want to thank some of the guys. We have up here today, the U.S. Open champion. He's a fantastic golfer. He's slightly longer than me. It's a little bit longer than me. Just a little bit. Bryson DeChambeau is up here someplace. What happened to Bryson? Where is he? Bryson. Oh, he was shot. He's hitting balls. Oh, he's on the way. He's hitting balls. Bryson. Oh, look at him.
Yo, those black MAGA hats are dope. I'm about to get one for sure.
He had
100%.
he's got a great career going. Great U.S. Open, Bryson. That's a fantastic job. And we also have a man, Dana White, who has done some job. He's a tough guy. So Dana started UFC and came to me, do you mind if I use your, nobody wanted to give him Marines because they said it's a rough sport, a little rough. And I helped him out a little bit, and I went, and they said, this is the roughest sport I've ever seen, but I began to like it, and he loved it, and nobody's done a better job in sports. And he's a very motivational kind of a guy, what he does. He gets these fighters and they really go at it. And it's become one of the most successful sports enterprises anywhere at any time. It's doing so well. I'd like to ask Dana just to say a couple of words because people love to hear from him. Dana, please.
Nobody deserves this more than him, and nobody deserves this more than his family does. This is what happens when the machine comes after you. What you've seen over the last several years, this is what it looks like. Couldn't stop him. He keeps going forward. He doesn't quit. He's the most resilient, hardworking man I've ever met in my life. His family are incredible people. This is karma, ladies and gentlemen. He deserves this. They deserve it as a family. I want to thank some people real quick. I want to thank the Nelk boys, Aiden Ross, Theo Vaughn, Bustin' with the boys, and last but not least, the mighty and powerful Joe Rogan. And thank you, America. Thank you. Have a good night.
That is a piece of work. No, he's really an amazing guy. But most of all, I want to thank the millions of hardworking Americans across the nation who have always been the heart and soul of this really great movement. We've been through so much together, and today you showed up in record numbers to deliver a victory like probably like no other. This was something special, and we're gonna pay you back. We're gonna do the best job. We're gonna turn it around. It's got to be turned around. It's got to be turned around fast, and we're gonna turn it around. We're gonna do it in every way, with so many ways, but we're gonna do it in every way. This will forever be remembered as the day the American people regained control of their country. So I just want to say that on behalf of this great group of people, these are hardworking people. These are fantastic people, and we can add a few names like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He came in, and he's going to help make America healthy again. And now he's a great guy, and he really means it. He wants to do some things, and we're going to let him go to it. I just said, but Bobby, leave the oil to me. We have more liquid gold, oil and gas. We have more liquid gold than any country in the world, more than Saudi Arabia. We have more than Russia. Bobby, stay away from the liquid gold. Other than that, go have a good time, Bobby. We're going to be paying down debt. We're going to be reducing taxes. We can do things that nobody else can do. Nobody else is going to be able to do it. China doesn't have what we have. Nobody has what we have. But we have the greatest people also. Maybe that's the most important thing. This campaign has been so historic in so many ways. We've built the biggest, the broadest, the most unified coalition. They've never seen anything like it in all of American history. They've never seen it. Young and old, men and women, rural and urban. And we had them all helping us tonight. When you think, I mean, I was looking at it, I was watching it. They had some great analysis of the people that voted for us. Nobody's ever seen anything like that. They came from all corners, union, non-union, African American, Hispanic American, Asian American, Arab American, Muslim American. We had everybody, and it was beautiful. It was a historic realignment, uniting citizens of all backgrounds around a common core of common sense. You know, we're the party of common sense. We want to have borders. We want to have security. We want to have things be good, safe. We want great education. We want a strong and powerful military, and ideally we don't have to use it. You know, we had no wars. 4 years we had no wars, except we defeated ISIS. We defeated ISIS in record time, but we had no wars. They said, he will start a war. I'm not going to start a war. I'm going to stop wars. But this is also a massive victory for democracy and for freedom. Together, we're going to unlock America's glorious destiny. We're going to achieve the most incredible future for our people. Yesterday, as I stood at my last stop on the campaign trail, I'll never be doing a rally again. Can you believe it? I think we've done 900 rallies approximately from them. Can you imagine? 901, something, a lot of rallies. And it was sad. Everybody was sad. Many people, I said, this is our last rally. But now we're going on to something that's far more important, because the rallies were used for us to be put in this position where we can really help our country. That's what we're going to do. We're going to make our country better than it ever has been. And I said that many people have told me that God spared my life for a reason. And that reason was to save our country and to restore America to greatness. And now we are going to fulfill that mission together. We're going to fulfill that mission. The task before us will not be easy, but I will bring every ounce of energy, spirit, and fight that I have in my soul to the job that you've entrusted to me. This is a great job. There's no job like this. This is the most important job in the world. Just as I did in my first term, we had a great first term, a great first term. I will govern by a simple motto: promises made, promises kept. We're going to keep our promises. Nothing will stop me from keeping my word to you, the people. We will make America safe, strong, prosperous, powerful, and free again. And I'm asking every citizen all across our land to join me in this noble and righteous endeavor. That's what it is. It's time to put the divisions of the past 4 years behind us. It's time to unite. And we're going to try. We have to try. And it's going to happen. Success will bring us together. I've seen that. I saw that in the first term when we became more and more successful. People started coming together. Success is going to bring us together, and we are going to start by all putting America first. We have to put our country first for at least a period of time. We have to fix it, because together we can truly make America great again for all Americans. So I want to just tell you what a great honor this is. I want to thank you. I will not let you down. America's future will be bigger, better, bolder, richer, safer, and stronger than it has ever been before. God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Awesome. All right, guys. That is it. That is it. Okay. I want to thank every single last one of you for joining me on this stream. I'm sorry that I was late, but, I knew that, it would be a lot of streaming. Okay, I knew I would be up late, so I was like, I'm going to start when I can actually come to some real conclusions about the election. And, hey, man, I'm just happy that we're at this point. It's been a long 4 years. We have another 4 years, right, of, hey, trying to make the country great again. The liberal media will be coming after us. It's not over, okay? Best believe starting today, really, because, it's today, right? It's 3 a.m. in the morning. These propagandists are going to be pushing more propaganda, right? So we got to make sure that we continue to stay in the fight, right? And, I'm just super happy that we got the outcome that we wanted. And, it's just good to have the taste of victory. And one of the main reasons why I feel so good about this is because I know a lot of people have been blackpilled by the fact that we haven't had that many victories lately. Okay. A lot of it has been, hopium, kind of sort of in the sense that we'll get small victories, right? But, the big victory is actually when you win, right? And you got to win. Okay. And we won. And we won big. Okay, we won in the Senate. It looks like we're gonna keep the House as well too, which means that the American people have given us a full mandate. So that's great. That's good. And now that process begins. And, you know, it's really exciting. So thank you guys so much. I love each and every single last one of you for joining this stream. I think this is probably the biggest stream that I've ever had. And it's just amazing how far we've come together. And it's like a dream. It really is. So with that being said, I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Nothing will change. Same schedule, right? I'm going to be pumping out videos just like before. Got to keep working hard. The grind never stops. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Good night. I love you.